This video contains information that may be offensive and disturbing to some people. If you are a viewer and are triggered or shocked by images and need a warning prior to every clip or story being discussed, then please unsubscribe from my channel immediately. My channel covers the harsh reality of even the worst crimes imaginable and is for adults only. For those of you who fit into this category, take this message as your warning and don't watch any further. Hello, freaks! How the hell's it going? Yeah. So, before the first thing I wanted to do tonight, though, would be to play the. There's another Grady Judd press conference from like yesterday. Those are always interesting. This one might turn into a bigger case, you know. It's going to be like Trayvon Martin or something. Unfortunately. Yep. Yeah, so I was going to play that. That one's like 20 something minutes long. Well, but you know what I'm going to do first, though, is I'm going to go over this. You know, there's been a case in the news that I've been following. Braylen Noble. He's a 3-year-old child who, you know, his parents, the parent and I think the grandmother, I can't remember exactly, said that he fell out a window and then they couldn't find him. But maybe they weren't paying attention when he fell out the window. I don't know. There's a 911 call. You know, a lot of people go, "Oh, look at the lady says I killed him." You know, it's like, really? Oh, you can hear like that, and then it turns into the I call it like the EVP phenomenon. As soon as somebody tells you what they hear, all of a sudden everybody hears that now. You know, just like the rabbit in the cloud. Oh, look at, there's a rabbit. See the legs? Oh, I see it. Yeah, wow. Okay, it's the same thing. That's what people do. So as soon as somebody mentions it, everyone believes what they were told they hear. Not everybody, but most people, because they're not willing to literally analyze it. And usually, what somebody says they heard is always a nefarious angle, and that's a lot more interesting to believe in. Like if they said, "Oh, I killed him," or "Hey, I couldn't catch my breath when I ran down the stairs," but you know, that doesn't sound as bad. That's not as interesting now. So it's always, you know, the people tend to believe the more nefarious version of everything. All right. So a search was on. This is from. Let me switch over to that. Oh, by the way, thank you to Michelle Nicholas and Julie W. And I know that some of you have gone over onto that other website that was covering the Delphi case, and in the community section, all the haters. It's amazing. Most people weren't, though. That was kind of cool. But literally like 10% of the comments were just, "God, this one time I went over there and hated." You know, the problem is the only time I ever talk away is if I make a mistake on the screen, or when you say something so ludicrous that it deserves a comeback. So if you actually make a comment in the video, or like in the chat, that is insanity, I'm probably going to say it. And don't go, "Well, that's your opinion." No, it's pretty much everybody's, really. Hey, thanks, Juju Positive. And you're the wind beneath my wings, just like Zozo. I saw Zozo over there. Zozo was kind.
I literally have missed you. You're the air in my lungs full of fire smoke ATM.
Yeah.
Growing heart Julie Juju.
What's crazy, if you look outside where we live, the sky is orange. Yeah. Hey, VP, would you mind if I cover it, though? All right. You're kind of like giving away the story like you do often. Yeah, so like if you look outside, it's about as orange as the color on Juju Positive's donation right there. It's wild. It's kind of cool looking, but it's also a little bit weird. Yeah. All right, so they were looking, this is last Friday. They've been looking for this little boy since last Friday. And he is autistic, or was autistic, and nonverbal. And, you know, there was just no clue. Apparently, the parent and the grandmother said he fell out a window. Maybe that's the only thing they could think of. And then the child disappeared. All right, so here is the 911 call. Let me turn off the music completely.
Emergency. 911, where's your emergency?
Yes, we have a missing 3-year-old.
Okay, what's the address?
Autistic nonverbal. 315 Gibraltar Heights. 3415,
I'm sorry, 3415?
30.
See that little whisper thing right there? They think he says, I killed him. Oh, God, I killed him. Yeah, but you really can't hear it. It's just sort of like the voice gets cut off. It's right here. Just listen to that again. Here we go.
I'm sorry, 3415?
30.
Right there. She says, I killed. But people want it to say, I killed him. So that's, of course, what they're going to hear, because you cannot hear any of the rest of it. Any of the other part of it, it could have said anything. I can't do this, you know. Blah, blah, blah. It could have been anything. It's ridiculous.
415 Gibraltar Heights.
Yeah, look at. The thing is, why would, I mean, it's possible she's saying that, but it, you know, later on they start talking about what clothing, he was wearing, and they're trying to remember and everything. I don't know. It just didn't make a lot of sense to me, given what was said.
Apartment number?
Yes, L11.
I'm sorry?
L11.
L11, your name?
Yes.
Your name?
My name is Bobby.
Bobby, is
B-I-E Johnson.
Bobby, is she white or Hispanic?
Black.
I know. That's what I'm saying. People want it to say that, Cairo. That's the whole point.
Yes.
How long has she been missing?
It's a he.
Him?
We've been looking for him for over a good 30 minutes.
Okay.
He fell out his window in these apartments.
So here's what could have happened. That the kid fell out the window and maybe fell into a bush or whatever the hell, and they didn't notice it. They were doing some other things. So about 20 minutes, who knows when the kid actually could have fallen out as opposed to when they started looking. It could have been 30 minutes, an hour, anything.
You think he's hurt?
I'm hoping he's okay, but we don't know where he at. We walked the whole ground.
Okay. And what was he wearing? Do you know?
What kind of his shirt? Because he found the window with his purple.
It was Friday.
What's his name?
Oh my God. Braylen.
B-A-Y-L-N or B-R-A-Y?
L-Y-L-I-N. B-R-A-Y-L.
B-A-N.
L-E-N. I'm sorry.
And what's his last name?
L-E-N. What's my last name? Noble. Oh, God.
Okay, and what was he wearing?
He had on his pull-up. And, was that the orange shirt? I don't even know what shirt he had on. What color was his shirt? T-shirt with the orange at the bottom? Or was it the gray one? He changed it out so much. I don't even know what he put on him.
Okay, what's your phone number?
419-917-1640.
Did you guys go back by the creek and look by the creek anywhere?
Yes, we went all back there by the pool area, the swing area, all of that, and on the back end on the other side.
Yeah, I think almost all of this makes them seem more innocent. Everything.
Oh.
Okay, and he's nowhere in the house?
No, we looked in the closets and everything.
Thanks, Crystal.
Did you look under the bed?
AKA Beaver Game Sub Cover.
Yes.
Okay. Is it looking like the hampers underneath?
No, the 911 call experts are already out there. That's why, I've been listening and watching, just going, oh my God.
Blankets?
Yeah, because we only have one bed in the apartment.
Okay.
Oh, God.
Okay, well,
the screen windows like wide open.
Yeah, I don't need any help knowing where it is or anything like that. Thanks. I've got everything all mapped out.
Okay, well, we get the police on their way there, okay?
Haven't you guys figured that out yet?
Okay, they're coming there. All right. Okay, you're looking for them. Okay. All right.
Oh, God.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah. Right. But see, there you're trying to be your little your body language expert there, Linda. It doesn't work for me. You've proven that you're not quite accurate all the time. But hey, good for you. All right, here we go. Here's the apartments. Now, one of these units, there are 3 floors. Let me see. Here's what came out today.
See Action News. This is a breaking news alert.
We are here today to confirm that we have found a body in the pool at Gibraltar Heights.
See, now the parent, the grandmother, said, yeah, we were back by the pool in the woods and everything. Why would they even alert them that they were anywhere near the pool? Okay? Why would they even alert them to that? If they knew that the kid was in the pool.
Official identity of the body will be made by the Lucas County coroner. However, it's believed to be the body of missing child Braylen Noble.
A tragic day in Toledo. Worst fears appear to be realized. 6 days of searching for 3-year-old Braylon Noble coming to an end. His disappearance now turning into a death investigation. Our team continues to get the latest information now and reaction from the community on today's developments. 13 ABC's Christina Williams on the story from the start, has been at Hunter's Ridge Apartments all day and was there when crews searched the pool again.
I knew you
She
wouldn't be
leads off
offended,
our live team
Linda.
coverage.
Ali, this is the pool where Braylon Noble was found today, according to Toledo police. We want to give you a look at what it looks like tonight. You can see
Yeah, but you don't know if they lied about him falling out the window.
bottom of the pool, and it is only half.
See, what's strange is one of the things that's weird here, though, is that there's this pool here. And apparently they searched the pool, the very pool. It's not even a big pool. Look at this thing. I've got it right here on the map. Here's the pool. And amazingly, this is where they had the volunteer gazebo staging for all the days. All the days that people were there searching. They had, the base was right there, and literally, 50 feet away, there's a pool. And this is where Jalen was found. Or Braylon, excuse me, Jalen. Let me go through this. I knew I said that wrong. That's what the pool actually looks like. See the shape of it? It's not square like they said. And the way you get down there, there's some stairs right there, and then you go down to the pool. It's actually 3D, so on Google Earth here. So you go down right there to the pool, and right here is where they were all meeting all the time. And when you take this off, the pool shape looks like that. And it's not a very big pool at all. It's small. It's tiny. I mean, just look at the size of where you would lay down. I guess it's, if those are little chairs you would sleep on, it'd probably be, it's not absolutely tiny, but you see it on the video. It's not very big, and they searched it, and then they went back and searched it again, but it looked like it was pretty clear-ish. I mean, it looks dirty, but you can see the bottom.
This is the pool where Braylen Noble was found today, according to Toledo police. We want to give you a look at
I don't know if they need.
what
There
it
was
looks
divers,
like
but you
tonight.
wouldn't need
You can
divers.
see the bottom of the pool, and it is only halfway
I mean, you could be anybody
filled
just
with water
looking.
at this time. This is the area where police say they found the missing 3-year-old today. The toddler was found in this area, and police saying it had been
whatever.
checked
You wouldn't need
multiple
divers
times
to
in the
go into
past
that
few
pool,
days.
okay?
Police made that discovery this afternoon, and it's still unclear what led police back to the pool today. In fact, this morning I was here when nearly a
See, this is when there is a guy looking around, but you can see that you can't really see his lower half of his body. So I think it's possible they just missed him the first time. Didn't they kind of maybe did a half-ass sort of search, and they went and researched it again. It's also possible that somebody put him there, I guess, after the fact, after they knew it was searched, or I don't know, like that, or maybe somebody he wandered into the woods and one of the homeless people did something and threw him into the pool. I don't know. I don't know how the kid got out of the house. At this point, they haven't been arrested. I think they need to do an autopsy on the child, and if it turns out he died from something other than drowning, then, they're probably, it's more likely that the parents had something to do with it at that point. But if the child just drowned, it's also weird, too, because the timing of the day that the kid went missing wasn't even that late. It was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I thought, when I was looking at it earlier. And wouldn't there be people around? So if the kid wandered out of the house, fell down, hit into the bush or something, and then wandered over to the pool, wouldn't somebody have seen him do that? Or maybe it was too early and people weren't off of work yet. I don't know. It's also possible that the parents took the kid to the school, weren't paying attention, he drowned, then they panicked, went back up to their apartment, made the call. And then they were kind of like, wow, you guys didn't even find him? So there's things like that. I'm not seeing the angle yet. We have to wait for the medical examiner report, though. Yeah, the gases don't form that quick to float to the surface. Yeah, there's just a little thing that you can walk down there.
Dozen federal agents were walking this
and he's kinda
complex.
small,
In fact, they
That was
walked
one of the things I was
right
gonna
by
say
the
was-
pool. The pool was also checked by divers on Friday with the Toledo Fire and Rescue Department when Braylen Noble was reported missing. And yesterday, there was only a small amount of water left inside, which is what you can see here now today.
Well, it's not a small
At this
amount,
point,
it's
it's
half full.
unclear if investigators received a tip that led them to search again, but they are reiterating tonight that the pool was checked.
It's common practice in police investigations, once an area is searched, if nothing's found, to go back and revisit that search area.
Okay, well, there you go. See? Well, why do you guys do that? Well, because you may have missed something. And by God, yeah, so you searched the pool. Is it possible you missed that small child in the pool the first time when it was kind of murky?
And see if anything was missed. But we do want to reiterate that the area was searched numerous times by Toledo Fire and Rescue, Toledo Police, the FBI, private search groups, and both live and cadaver dogs.
The Lucas County Coroner's Office will determine how the child died by performing an autopsy. Meanwhile, right after presumed Braylen Noble was found here in this pool at the Hunters Ridge Apartments, his mother was taken by Toledo police. She was not under arrest at the time, but she was taken in a police cruiser downtown. Once again, at this hour and at last check, no charges have been filed in this case. Of course,
Yeah. See, I'm not saying they don't have anything to do with it, but we got to wait to see what the medical examiners say happened. I think the most nefarious scenario that seems likely is that they went to the pool with the kid, they weren't paying attention or something, and he drowned in the pool, and then they sort of staged all the other stuff, the phone call, okay? Which is a lot less than somebody killing somebody. But that's just my speculation at this point. Now later, if they say, oh, we found strangulation marks or anything like that, drugs in the system, then all of a sudden everything changes, right?
We will stay on top of it.
But to me, the 911 call seemed normal. You know, they were literally saying, okay, I don't remember exactly what he was wearing. He had, and both of them were engaged in that conversation. They were going through that. It seemed pretty legit, unless you wholeheartedly dive into the "I killed him" comment that everyone hears now because they were told to hear it.
Those developments continue. Lee?
All right, Christina, thank you. Shock and anger from people who had gathered to help search when they heard that a body had been found. Even with this development, there are still so many questions. I-Team reporter Sean Haggerty continues our live team coverage tonight. Sean?
I mean, one of the things that they mentioned that's kind of interesting is the pool is down low. See how it's low down there? And then right up against it is the wooded area. And inside there is a bunch of... I mean, this is what it looks like when there's no leaves on a tree. So you can see the creek in there. So they searched this entire area, which makes sense. But apparently he was found in this pool here. So, you know, I admit it's weird. It's right there. I mean, he was there the whole time. If he was there, I mean, if he was in the pool the whole time, that's weird, right? But we find weird stuff all the time. It's not... It's nothing new to find something weird on this when we do true crime, okay?
Yeah, Lee, a crowd that was originally pushed back from this area has now returned and want to take a closer look at the pool.
Well, that's your opinion, Tricia. Well,
has also grown here, as you can see.
Hey, listen, it's possible, Tricia, but will you come back on here and apologize if she wasn't killed? Because you're making a statement that the baby was killed, and I don't agree that you can say anything like that at this point.
Those blue balloons behind there. Once again, a vigil is expected tonight at 7 p.m. Now, crime scene detectives were taking photos, concentrating their work on the pool today where that baby was found this afternoon. Now, finding the baby in the pool is puzzling to a lot of people. As Christina was just telling you, firefighters searched it Friday afternoon, and witnesses out here over and over again said they saw police officers, federal agents, and those private search crews all searching the pool several days now. So how is it the baby was found there now?
Yeah. I mean, you have to believe something like this, that they killed the child, hid him somewhere, even though the police were there. Then they went and, you know, maybe they hid the baby in the woods, right? And then when the coast looked clear, late at night, they went back, retrieved the child, and then put him in the pond, right? That's what you have to believe. Okay, if you believe that somebody put that body there, then you have to believe that the parents, the parent, or, you know, who knows, on that 911 call, both of them, that they killed the child and then somehow put the child in the woods, somewhere else even, to hide the baby, and then bring him back later, dump him in the pool when they'd already searched it. Okay, that's what you'd have to believe. Does that even seem logical?
There's no way that he was in that pool from the beginning because everybody looked in that pool area. So there's no way that he was there from day one. There's no way.
Well, that is anybody that was thinking
theories out here of how the baby ended up there. Was the baby there the whole time? That is an unanswered question at this point. A lot of people have been trying to figure that out here throughout the rest of the afternoon. There's also no one been charged, so people out here wondering, will eventually somebody be charged in this case? That's just on the minds of so many people out here tonight, Lee.
All right, Sean.
Well, maybe not, you know.
Hey everybody, this is Christina Williams from 13 ABC. I'm going to wait for some of you to hop on here so I can give you an update on what's happening here at the Hunters Ridge apartment complex.
This is, what was her name, Christina Woods? Yeah, let me just move it
That was
forward.
where volunteers were staging. That is also right
they were
next
staging
to the
right
pool.
there. There's
Let
the
me
pool.
show you here. See these officers? Right below that is the pool here at the apartment complex. Now this pool was already drained. They searched this area. In fact, I had a chance to look at it yesterday from up above. People were asking if there was
Oh,
water
she's
in
got
there.
it
They had
selfie
drained
mode.
that already. So
I knew it looked backwards. That's because she's on selfie mode.
here's what we can tell you right now. That they have this whole area cordoned off now. This was not this way just a little while ago. In fact, they're putting up additional tape right now. They're going to keep people from walking right.
So that's what the apartment looks like.
And they're asking large crowds right now to step back.
So that's what the apartment looks like, and they called and said that he fell out of the top floor.
This morning, the FBI was also out here canvassing, and they wanted to make that very clear that at this point, they still consider this a missing persons case, and this child has not been found at this time. No one has been arrested or charged in this case either. There are a lot of questions, there are a lot of rumors out there. Let me be clear, nobody has been charged in this case. This child is still missing. Share that picture. As soon as we get any updates, we'll be sure to let you know. Of course, there's a lot of speculation. Of course, there are a lot of questions, but at this point, I can tell you that Toledo police officers are the ones taping off areas. In the past, there have been a lot of volunteer searches.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the situation is with the pool. Is it one of those apartment complexes where the gate's never really quite locked? It does seem odd that a child could fall from a building, wander all the way over to a pool that has a fence around it, and then end up in the pool. Okay. That seems very low, unlikely. Okay, so I'm not like confused and delirious or something. I understand that that's strange. I also think it's possible that, maybe there was an accident that happened at the pool earlier, but then how come nobody found the child in the pool? And then later, the child shows up in the pool. It's a story that needs to be explained. Let's put it that way. But at this point, I don't have a clue on which one seems the most likely at this point. And nobody else should either, because they're really, well, here's the thing. Is if I was going to weigh something based on the fact that the kid's in the pool, I would have sort of leaned towards it. The kid accidentally drowned in the pool, and then they panicked about that, made up a story. But then you go, well, then how come the kid wasn't found when they searched the pool? And then you sort of go, God, then you have to veer away from that story. Because what we have to believe, if he ended up in the pool, is that a 3-year-old kid fell out of a second-story window, landed on the ground, walked, nobody saw the kid. He walked all the way to the pool, through a gate that may have been locked or not, down some steps, and then drowned in that swimming pool. Okay, that is very difficult. That's a hard thing to fathom. Like if it was on videotape, then I'd believe it. Just like the Kanika Jenkins case, right? You see her walk back there, doesn't leave, and she dies in the freezer. Yeah, well, okay, third story, but I'm just saying 2 floors up. Because you have the bottom one and then up and then... Let me just show you that again. Well, I can't see it here.
There, they had drained that
see,
already. So here's what we can tell. That was where
can't
volunteers
pause
were
this
staging.
video
That
for
is
some
also
reason.
right next to the pool. Let me
but
show
yeah,
you here.
you've got...
See these officers right below that?
There's a
is
ground
the pool
floor, then
here at
second
the
floor,
apartment
third
complex. Now,
floor.
this
So I
pool
just
was
mean
already
the
drained. They
second
searched
one
this
up.
area.
High.
In fact, I had a chance to
Which
look
I
at
guess
it
is third,
yesterday from up above. People were asking if there was water in there. They had drained that already. So here's what we can tell you right now. That they have this whole area cordoned off now. This was not this way just a little while ago. In fact, they're putting up additional tape right now. They're going to keep people from walking
3,
right
2,
along the
then
pool.
1 is
and they're
right down
asking
there.
large crowds right now to step back. So at this point, I don't know if they're going to push us back farther or not. Like I just told you in the past hour, Braylon is still considered missing at this point. I had a chance to talk to Toledo police officers this morning. The FBI was also out here canvassing, and they wanted to make that very clear that at this point, they still consider this a missing persons case, and this child has not been found at this time. No one has been arrested or charged in this case either. There are a lot of questions, there are a lot of rumors out there.
See, this is what's interesting is, see, that's the third floor, right? That's the second floor, but then the first floor is halfway underground. If that's what you're considering that to be. You know, unless that's the first floor, because there's a door going in. You probably go down a little bit. So it's not as high as what you'd think with a third-story window. That's really not that high. That's probably maybe 15 to 20 feet from there to here. But I guess from the top of that railing it might be.
Let me be clear, nobody has been charged in this case. This child is still missing. Share that picture. As soon as we get any updates, we'll be sure to let you know. Of course, there's a lot of speculation. Of course, there are a lot of questions, but at this point, I can tell you that Toledo police officers are the ones taping off areas. In the past, there have been a lot of volunteer searchers that have found things. They have placed the orange flags like you see in this woman's hand right over there when they find something that they think might be a little bit suspect. I can tell you the woods that they've been searching for days now are very thick. There are some people who are without homes that do live in those woods. There have been multiple pieces of evidence found. It is unclear, though, if any of those are linked to Braylen's case. Once again, once the FBI gets involved, if you're not familiar with this, when they get involved, the case is tight-lipped. There is a lot of talk on social media, but at this point, you need to listen to what is coming from police and the FBI. No one has been charged in this case. Braylen Noble is still missing at this time. This new development just happening within the past few minutes here, where they have taped off this entire area, including a gazebo that was serving as the headquarters for all of those volunteers.
Yeah, well, she just kind of goes on and on. There's nothing new in there. But this is apparently where they were staging to do searching, and the body was found in there. God, it's just... Doesn't it seem weird, though, too, if somebody killed the child, to put him right there in the pool in your own apartment complex, knowing that you killed them in a different way other than drowning? I just think that's strange. This is a really baffling set of facts in this case. You gotta admit, it's definitely not something that's normal going on here. And back to some music. Yeah, I mean, a story that makes sense, that I was just saying a minute ago, was that maybe the child drowned in the pool, and then maybe they were the only ones at the pool at the time, and they panicked. And then maybe they did put the child in the woods or something back there, because they panicked. They didn't know what to do, and then they made up this big story. They called it in, and then during the night... one time they go over there and then put the child back in the pool because it did actually drown in the pool originally, because that's the only thing that makes like some sense logically a little bit. I mean, because it really seemed it would be odd if the child was in the pool the entire time and they searched it a few different times with different people and never found it. That's wild. Yeah, nonverbal and autistic, yeah. But that doesn't make any difference when you're not alive, you know what I mean? Right, well, I just came up with a theory that's, you know, definitely possible. And it makes a lot more, it makes sense in a panic mode. But at the same time, you know, at least it's not like the other people that panic when a person dies, you know. Okay, well anyways, that's all I got for this story here. I don't want to just keep beating a dead horse over and over again. It's pretty crazy. I'm really interested to see what the autopsy results show. If it shows that he drowned and that's how he died, that's weird. That means he probably was in the pool the whole time. Beat it. What does that mean? Yeah, the autopsy should be able to tell the answer. What might make it complicated is if he did wander over and die in the pool, the fall would create bruises, and maybe that's why they brought that part up. You know, who knows? Maybe that's an alibi kind of, you know, he fell from the third floor. If so, that means if you ever find any bruises on him, that'll explain that. And then he died accidentally in the pool. Okay, we'll have to wait and see what the autopsy shows. Yeah, I did say that. Well, I don't know if I said it early on, but we just said it. Autistic and nonverbal. Yeah. I don't know if that's very relevant to, you know, when the child's dead, it can't make sounds. Okay, I'm going to go and move on to the Grady Judd, and then we'll get on to the cases, all right? So here you go, everybody, our favorite sheriff in town. Except this case here involves, watch, it'll make the news because it was a white person shooting a black person, and stand your ground doesn't seem to apply. Yeah, but maybe, yeah, but that might be true, Michelle, but that's what, they wouldn't know that, right? I mean, you make it sound like, yeah, you got it, but that's not what they're thinking in their head. Okay? All right, here we go.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here to brief you about a shooting that occurred this morning.
There it is, everybody, that same thing.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here to brief you about a shooting that occurred this morning at the landing at Four Corners, which is on Highway 192, just off of Highway 27 in the edge of Polk County.
Well, that's probably just complete rumor stuff. Did you hear a searcher actually say that, KNS? Because that would fit what I was just saying a minute ago. That the child died accidentally, probably by drowning. They were at the pool, maybe. They weren't paying attention. Then they panicked, put the kid out in the woods, then later went and got the child. Or something totally different happened. The kid was wandering alone, and somebody snatched him, killed him, maybe back out in where the homeless camps are, then put the body back in the pool to make it look like it was actually part of the apartment complex.
And here's what occurred. I'm going to give you a summation of the information that we have up to this point. And of course, all of this is subject to change as the investigation goes on. But we have our victim, Divine Pritchett. He's a black male. He's 19 years of age. He was staying down the road with some friends in the Best Western, and there were about 5 or 6 of them all together. We learned at about 4 a.m. this morning from his friends that he dropped some acid, and that's their terminology. They used acid, and he just freaked out and left. He was wearing a pair of shorts, no shirt, and only had socks on. So he ends up in this apartment complex. And he's in the breezeway of an apartment complex when just prior to 6 a.m. this morning, there's a man walking his dog. As he walks past, he hears a guy going, pow, pow, pow. And he looks, and there's this 19-year-old who is about 5'5" and 125 pounds, according to the information on his driver's license, as if he's got a gun, and he's making this noise, pow, 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 but he doesn't have a gun. So he speeds up. He walks faster. The guy comes out of the stairwell, and grabs him on the shoulder. He turns around and shoves him down. And then he runs and goes up to his third apartment floor. He has a roommate up there, and he tells them, hey, this guy just attacked me down here. And his roommate and he come out, and they start looking for him. And our witness one, as we're calling him, who has the dog.
That's funny, Cairo. I was going to make that same comment. Notice how he referred to him as a black male and a white male. Wow, that's just how he talks.
Is dialing 911 to say there's a guy out here that's acting really crazy, really bizarre. And as they're looking for him, there is another couple that came out of their apartment on the second floor, and as they said, they went down to smoke. And they learned of this event that took place. So at that time, who is now our suspects, Brian Medeiros, Medeiros, a white male who's 25, goes down to his car and gets his handgun, a Taurus, and he puts it in his waistband and covers it with his shirt. They finish smoking. He goes back up to the second floor, which is where their apartment is, and he tells his girlfriend or fiance to go inside. He hears noise on the third floor, and he goes up to the third floor, and as he's on the landing, there's the landing on each side of the apartment complex, he sees the guy laying, our victim, Divine, laying flat on his back on the other landing. And someone's trying to talk to him.
The victim was the one that was tripping.
And it turns out that it is not the person with the dog, but his roommate. So the guy gets up and he goes on up to the third floor, our victim, Divine. Our shooter goes up, sees him there. The victim turns around and starts down the other stairwell. Well, our shooter comes down his stairwell.
Why does it matter, though, Zozo and everybody, that the color comes first? I mean, it's just a description of the person, you know? Why do they need to say, okay, they are a male, 37-year-old, and they're black? Or why can't they say they're a black, 37-year-old male? It doesn't affect any. I don't think differently about hearing it that way. What does it make a difference? What order you put that in? I mean, man, that just sounds ultra PC, like trying to find a PC way to say it, you know? Who gives a shit?
And then we see where our victim, Divine, is walking directly toward our shooter. And even though he told his girlfriend to go inside, she's standing at the door, but now they see he's got his pants down. So if you can imagine this, our victim has his pants down to mid-thighs.
Yeah, who cares,
It's
right?
clearly indicated he doesn't have a firearm. And he's walking directly toward our shooter, Brian Medeiros. Brian Medeiros then does something that's interesting. He pulls his gun and he shoots him. And when he shoots him, he says it has no effect, and the guy's really close to him. So he said, I'll walk around him, and I start past him, and he turns around to follow me, and I turn around and shoot him some more. And he's caught up with me, and then I walk past him again, And as I'm going down the staircase to the first floor, he follows me and he tumbles down behind me, and that's where he dies. Ladies and gentlemen, we have done an exhaustive investigation all day, and the investigation's not over. We have this law in Florida called stand your ground. So the issue is, was Brian Medeiros standing his ground? At this initial point in the investigation, it clearly appears to us that Brian used too much force. The law talks about protecting yourself from imminent, yourself or others, from imminent death, serious bodily harm. The guy's 5'5". He's 125 pounds.
Yeah, so what makes this different than the George Zimmerman case is Zimmerman did follow. So in a minute here, he starts talking about, that this guy followed, and therefore, but the thing is, the difference in the Zimmerman case is, yes, Zimmerman followed, but he wasn't threatening anybody. And then Trayvon actually is the one who was on top of Zimmerman, pounding him in the face, and that's when he pulled out a gun. That's what all the witnesses said, and that's what they came up with. Okay, so it became a different type of self-defense. I don't even think stand my ground was even used in that case. It was talked about, but I think it was just self-defense at a certain point.
He's bizarre and out of his mind.
Maybe they changed that law since then.
And rambling. He's laying on his back part of the time, talking incoherently. But is he a danger? And to what level is he a danger? Well, the fear is in the mind of the shooter. The second issue we have problems with, in addition to using too much force based upon being able to see everything, he doesn't have a weapon.
You mean shoot him again?
He doesn't have a knife. He doesn't have a gun. He doesn't have a stick. He's acting bizarre. He doesn't have a right to be there. But then, instead of going into his apartment,
see, that's what Patricia said she would have done.
His ground, he follows and goes up to the third floor, where he hears sounds. So
I don't know.
He engages the guy when they both come back down the stairwell to the second floor. But had he simply gone into his residence, there would not have been a problem. So there was a lot of discussion.
See, what it shows is how great these guys are. They're not biased like that. They literally looked at all the information. I don't know if it'll end up being murder, like first-degree murder or anything like that, but I could see it becoming like reckless homicide. I mean, here's the thing. What responsibility does the guy that was taking acid and, whether threatening people or not, and he's little, there's some responsibility on that side too, right?
About the stand your ground issue. At this point in the investigation, we can't.
And I would say the same thing in reverse. If a white guy was on acid, he goes into somebody else's apartment complex, he's up on their floor, coming towards him, even if he's a little twerp, and then he ends up being shot, I wouldn't think race or anything had to do with it at all. To me, it would be, wow, maybe you used too much force there. Okay, it's just like this guy's saying. It doesn't matter whatsoever.
Articulate that he was in valid fear based upon the initial information we see. It's clear he didn't have a gun. It's clear he was out of his mind. It's clear that the shooter, had he initially came in contact with this guy, might have been able to articulate that more clearly. But at this point in the investigation...
Okay, I just was reading what you were saying, Zozo. Okay, I get it. See, sometimes your dry humor doesn't translate quickly or live.
He walks past his residence and up the flight of stairs, or halfway up. He goes up to the landing where he can see onto the 3rd floor, only to see our person on the 3rd floor. And the person on the 3rd floor, it's not like he's up there protecting someone else, because there is no conflict or fight or confrontation of violence at that moment in time.
Although I don't know, I'm reading it again. It doesn't seem like a joke at all.
He's going to jail tonight. I've said over and over and over, and I've said it to the news media over the years. I've said it at civic club meetings. People who do not understand the stand your ground law will end up arrested because they misjudged what it means. And what it means is simply this: if you've got a right to be where you are,
what does that mean,
and
Pamela?
someone uses
English,
force
please.
or
Thanks.
puts you in fear of that, then you're good to go. But he actually pursued the guy up a flight of stairs. So he wasn't standing his ground. He was following him.
So it wasn't joke. So it doesn't really matter what order you put the race of somebody in it, right? It's just part of who the person is.
Him up. It's a very difficult case for the state attorney's office, but certainly we believe there's significant probable cause that, given the discussion on when you stand your ground, and we're stating at this point in the investigation, he followed him up the stairs. He's not standing his ground. He's following him. He's looking for him.
Yeah, well, see, this is where there's that overlap with George Zimmerman, right? Because he was following Trayvon Martin. The difference is this guy never actually physically attacked the shooter, and he was way smaller, and he wasn't really a threat. He had his pants down to the middle of his thighs, and you could clearly see he didn't have a weapon. Okay, that's where it's the difference in the Zimmerman case, because Trayvon Martin saw him following, and I guess he turned around and they got in a fight, and he was on top of Zimmerman pummeling him, and then he had a reasonable fear for his life. And yes, they wouldn't have been in that situation had he not followed, but at that point it changes everything. Okay, you don't
to engage.
You're not required to let yourself be beaten up into a pulp because you happen to follow.
And number two, when the dude's got his pants down to his mid-thighs,
oh, here you go,
it's evident he doesn't have a weapon at all. What the shooter didn't know, that the man walking the dog knew, when the guy came on him and grabbed him by the shoulder, the man with the dog simply shoved him down. And if the guy had been that big a threat, when he got to his apartment, why did he and his buddy come back out looking for him while he's trying to make a 911 call? He had bad reception in his apartment, but he and his buddy came out looking for him. This is a very difficult case. But here's what we know. We got a 19-year-old kid with a criminal record. He was first arrested when he was 14 years old. He's got 10 felony charges. One a robbery at 14, some burglaries, some misdemeanors. So he's no angel. But we also have the shooter who has no criminal history, but we can see at least two events where he's been involved in an altercation involving a firearm. In fact, he alleged that his brother was choking him, and he shot his brother. Our shooter has shot another person. All of those charges ended up getting dropped, I guess, because...
Yeah, see, that would have been a stand your ground. He's being choked, right? So he claims that, then he shoots him, and then he got off on that one. So he thought, hey, hell, I can kill this guy too and get off on it, right?
Family deal, maybe brother didn't want to prosecute. But then on another
I'm not saying he
occasion,
killed his brother. I'm just saying.
he and his brother were involved in an altercation with a repo guy, record driver, where there was a gun there. So we know that the shooter today has shot someone before and was not criminally charged. We know that there's a report that we've been able to find today that the shooter had another conflict involving a firearm with his brother. Don't know which one was holding the gun. We're suggesting that he didn't know what the law said. We're suggesting that he was outside the bounds of stand your ground. Any questions?
What charges is he facing at this point?
We are still investigating the homicide charge that's appropriate to bring. It'll be someplace between manslaughter or second-degree murder, and they are discussing those charges at this time. But there will be a homicide charge brought against him today, and then we're investigating to see whether or not any other charges are appropriate.
Is this the first case you have brought against somebody who accusing them of misusing the Castleback doctrine or stand your ground?
I don't know. I can't answer that. But I can tell you that we will work with the state attorney's office to complete this investigation. But the evidence is obvious to me at this early stage of the investigation that there was too much force used, and that instead of standing your ground, he was actually seeking the guy out. And at the end of the day, criminal record or no criminal record, he's a 19-year-old kid who was messed up on drugs and acid, according to his friends, and was acting horribly bizarre. And the end result was he died. He died.
So the thing is, I think there should be some responsibility. If I was there, I would think, okay, wow. You know, this other guy, he's going to get this huge sentence when he was just doing his own thing, and this other person on drugs shows up, ends up in our apartment, not in your apartment, but, you know, on the stairways up in our apartment complex. And then all of a sudden, you know, there's a death. You know, it's just, to me, yeah, this is one of those things like intent part. I guarantee it, the guy didn't wake up in the morning and think, oh my God, I'm going to be able to shoot somebody today. You know, I don't think he's got that. You know, he does have those prior incidents with his brother and with the repo guy. So, you know, maybe he's no angel either. So I guess all that crap will come out. But sometimes, you know, it's the same. It's similar to me when somebody doesn't comply to what a cop tells them to do. It's now you're putting your life in danger the second you quit doing what they tell you to do. Like if they say, put your hands behind your back, and then you swing your arm around, man, your odds of being killed at that point go up dramatically.
Died of multiple gunshots.
Do you know how many gunshots?
Don't know yet. There was multiple gunshots. He was shot more than once.
Has the suspect spoken with your investigators at this point?
Yes, the suspect has cooperated.
Great logic
and
there,
given
Rebecca.
us his
Wow,
statement,
that's good stuff.
as well as the witnesses.
Did he bring up this stand your ground law as part of his defense in his statement to your investigators?
I'm not sure what he told them. That's the obvious issue here today. Is it stand your ground? Is it manslaughter? Is it stand your ground? Is it second-degree murder? Our suggestion is, at this point in the investigation, we have to look at the totality of the circumstances. And the totality of the circumstances are simply these. We got a 19-year-old kid that shot multiple times and is dead. He was on drugs. He shouldn't have been in this apartment complex. But we don't see a level of violence that's articulated to my satisfaction.
I would call it like, I would put it more with a homicide thing on it, not murder. I would say something like, you know, reckless homicide. You know, something like that. I don't know. It'll probably end up being like that second-degree murder, but to me it just doesn't have that same feel to it.
Action that warrants the use of a firearm.
You know, even though that's like heat of passion kind of deal.
And when
No
the
intent.
firearm was used, he had gone up pursuing or looking for the victim.
Yeah.
The victim,
See, that part doesn't
when
help.
he saw the victim come down to the second floor, he came back down to the other stairwell on the second floor, and as he's walking in, that's when the victim starts toward him, going pow, pow, pow with his fingers. But he has no gun. He's just out of his mind on drugs. But had he gone into the house, into his apartment, with his girlfriend like he directed her to go, even though she didn't, she stood outside the door, because curiosity. And then she went in and closed the door when she saw the guy coming down the gangway or the breezeway with his pants down.
I mean, that would have kind of freaked somebody out, right? His pants are down. He's kind
I don't know
you don't
if
know
he
what he's going to
understood
do.
the law or not.
Yeah. So that
But I
part's
understand-
weird, right? Like, he's got his pants down and he's heading towards you.
Understand at this early phase of the investigation, it's clear to me he used too much force, and he wasn't standing his ground. He was pursuing the guy. He was looking for him.
Right, but what if he had got... See, here's the thing is about that. I don't know if that's actually something he's correct on when he's saying that, because if he had tracked him down, and then let's say the victim in this case then attacked him, had a knife or something, and he was shot, he wouldn't have brought that part up at all. Okay, so because in Stand Your Ground, I don't think the pursuing part, you know, it's his apartment complex. I don't know. He tries to explain it, but I'm not sure he's got that part correct on this in this case.
I'm confused. The victim or the suspect was the one with the background who shooting his brother?
The shooter has the background of shooting his brother in a domestic event.
Okay, and the victim?
And the shooter also, with that brother or another brother, had an armed conflict with a repo agent. The victim, who was 19, had a robbery charge when he was 14 as a juvenile, and some burglaries and some resisting and some misdemeanors. And today, he would have been trespassing on this property once we got there. But had everybody just waited for us to go there and arrive, because no one was in imminent.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like anybody had to die here. And that's the thing, is like he's saying, that you got this little 125-pound small kid, but he's on some kind of drug or something, and he's running around. And, you know, he's got his pants down, and, you know, it's probably a kind of a freaky situation.
Imminent danger.
So I think you got to put some of the weight on the victim.
According to the initial information of our investigation, no one was in imminent danger. The one guy who could articulate that he was shoved the guy down and went up to his third floor apartment. And then he came back out with his buddy. So if the guy posed that much of a threat, I don't think he would have come back out.
So deputies were already en route to this complex while the shooting took place, sir?
We were on our way there before the shooting took place, because the guy who was walking his canine called us. And we were getting other calls when the gunshots rang out.
Any surveillance cameras on the property to help document? You feel you have reliable witnesses who saw this, or is there any video to help?
We are looking for any surveillance cameras. They
were in the middle of his thighs, not halfway down his ass, Miss Skiss.
Are none on the grounds of the apartment complex, and we've not been able to find any to this point. If someone's got some, we'll take a look at it. Yes, sir.
Just to clarify, the gentleman walking the dog is who saw Dlive do the pow pow pow.
Both. When supposedly, according to our shooter, when he was coming down, he had his fingers out the second time. Supposedly. But that's after he saw him laying flat on his back being crazy. on the landing. That's after our shooter walks past the door of his apartment, tells his girlfriend or his fiance to go inside, and pursues and goes up to the landing and can see up on the 3rd floor where our...
Yeah, this is one of those cases where nobody had to die. 2 people made mistakes, the victim and the shooter, but the shooter's the one that used the overwhelming force and will get, punished for that. But hopefully there's, it's a little bit mitigated by the fact that the kid's friend said he was on acid. So who knows? Maybe, I don't know if you can detect acid in the bloodstream. I'm not sure how that works.
Victim has now gotten up and gone to the 3rd floor. There were people that were trying to talk to him. What's your name? What's going on? And he was babbling. We see no reason for him to have been shot to death at this early stage of the investigation. He's from Orlando, and all of his friends were from the Orlando area.
And are they cooperating with the investigation as well?
They have cooperated with the investigation, and we've also served a search warrant on their motel rooms. And
yeah, you've said it 1,000 times, Susanna. And could you quit using the word pop? You sound like you're trying to be too lingo-y. Just say that he was shot twice, all right? Thanks.
We have arrested one for a violation of a curfew on a probation. We've seized some marijuana that needs to go to the lab, but they were very cooperative as well.
So can you just repeat the
Yeah, glad I could make some laughs.
The
Don't forget, everybody.
Full name is
just a
I
cup
don't
of
know
coffee.
if it's his full name is Brian Medeiros, Medeiros.
25, you said, correct?
25.
Brian with an I or a Y?
Why?
Thank you.
Oh, good question. And how old is he? I'm sorry.
Brian is 25. Ladies and gentlemen, this is one of those events where the shooter will articulate that he's right.
Thanks, Allie Cake.
The investigative
Building
information
up to
that
the
we
end of the
determined early in this investigation, we don't see that.
And Sheriff, I should say that this is one of the criticisms about the castle doctrine and the stand your ground doctrine, that it would be broadly misapplied and anyone could shoot anybody at any time and claim self-defense. Does this case confirm some of those fears?
No, this case confirms just the opposite of that. I don't know what he was thinking, or whether he was thinking stand your ground, but it shows you can get arrested when you think you're standing your ground, and you're not. And that's what we're saying. Not only do we believe he's not standing his ground, but he pursued the guy initially, but he used too much force, because clearly the guy has no firearm, he has no gun, he has no knife, he's 5'5", he's a little bitty dude. So it's not like he had his hand in his pants, he made some overt statement, he said, I got a gun, I'm going to shoot. We're having trouble seeing how he articulates that level of force at this stage of the investigation. There's a lot of work to do on this case, but I think the message is clear tonight. You can get arrested.
Thank you, Sarita and Miss Gus.
When you go shooting people, when in fact my suggestion is to stand your ground, in my understanding, means you're where you have a right to be, and someone comes upon you with...
Yeah, I don't know if that's correct right there to say, and someone comes upon you. I think you can go where you have a right to be, even if it means following somebody. It's not illegal to follow somebody. You have a right to be there. Okay? It's at that point, if somebody's forcing you to leave where you are, then you... So I'm not sure he's got that 100% on this one.
With this force or threat of force in your mind at that moment in time.
Thanks, it's
not
a twin
for
thing.
you to seek out
Linda's House of Chill.
and go to a problem. You see, and that's my argument. He wasn't standing his ground. You can't run into a problem and then say, oh, I'm just standing my ground. No. You have a right to be there.
Yeah, but right there. He did say
But you ran to the issue.
Yeah, but see, you just said he had a right to be there, but that's not the same thing. I don't know. I'm not sure he's 100% on that, but I don't know it. He would know better than I do.
No, he's going to be arrested tonight. He's in our custody. He'll have first appearance tomorrow, and then he'll have the opportunity to make bond, and he'll either make bond.
They're not that crazy, Linda. Hey, it provides some levity.
Or he'll sit in jail until
House of
the criminal
Chill.
justice system moves forward.
Given these other shooting incidents, would you advise that this gentleman be held up until the
That's not my decision. I don't get to make that. There is a bond schedule.
Oh, thanks for upgrading.
But he will be detained until he goes before a judge where the court can determine, and he has a right to a bond, by the way.
And his hearing will be tomorrow on Labor Day?
He should have a first appearance hearing if we get him booked in tonight before the cutoff time.
All right, well, that's about it. He doesn't really say much more after this. So, yeah. This will probably end up, once the CNN or MSNBC get a hold of it. Oh, boy. This is a huge case. Probably cancel NBA games and everything. All right, so I'm going to do the shorter story first, and then we'll get to the longer one. But the Tina Hosmer Smith case, there really hardly is any information on it at all. As a matter of fact, it wasn't even mentioned. I couldn't find it on newspapers.com in New York where it happened. Not until 10 years later when it was part of a different story. Okay, so this is all I could find right here. And you probably recognize the name here. Let me see if this one's from back. Yeah, maybe I'll just bring this one out first. So this is family, community members gather for 25th anniversary of unsolved murder case. Saturday marked the 25th anniversary of an unsolved murder case in Watertown. Tina Hosmer Smith was fatally shot on August 1st, 1990. It's been more than 2 decades since Smith was shot and killed on Goodale Street near downtown Watertown. So let me get the maps up here. There it is. And that's Goodale Street, and here's City Hall, and I think this used to be the police department. So she was shot just right here on this little tiny street right next to the police department. Oh, here comes the conspiracies. It's been more than 2 decades since Smith was shot and killed on Goodale Street near downtown Watertown, New York. It's been a hard time. Sometimes it seems like only yesterday, and sometimes it feels like 25 years, said Tina's father, Larry Hosmer Sr. And this article was from 2015, so that's why it says 25 years ago, 1990. Her birthday and holidays are still bad. They always will be. We try to do the best we can, said Tina's mother, Teresa Hosmer. Smith's parents organize walks to keep her memory alive. They make stops on Goodale Street, where Tina was shot, and on Arcade Street, where she was last seen that night. So let's see where that is. She was a prostitute, apparently. Okay, so she was just right here on this street. Not too far away from there. Let's see. I don't care how many years it's been, and I'm going to say this as long as I'm on the earth, said Teresa. I'm always going to try for justice for my daughter, always. Since Smith's murder, there have been numerous leads, but no arrests have ever been made. However, police still remain hopeful to this day, and this was suggested by a freak member, but I don't remember her name on this one. New leads have come in the past few months, with one even coming in this past week. At this time, they aren't leading to a direct suspect. There is always going to be hope. We're just waiting for the right person to come forward. Isn't that how it is in every single case? Just that one. You know, they always say, we just need that one piece of information. Right. Like who it is. Okay. So this is from 2000, so 15 years before that article that you just read. So apparently, you know, nothing's come of this, but it seemed like it was pretty promising. So this is from 2000. The arrest of a National Guard helicopter pilot in Washington State in the death of a prostitute has prompted speculation that law enforcement officers might have cracked a serial killer case. Police are investigating the possibility that 47-year-old Robert Yates, Jr., who actually did turn out to be a serial killer of probably, I think, at least 13 people. A former soldier at Fort Drum might have been involved in other killings. Oh, hold on. I gotta put this over there. See, oh, that's not, I don't know if it'll be the cat eye, but thank you, Crystal Ann. Very kind, thank you.
Thank you for addressing this.
I got it over just in time. Well, thank you. That was very kind. Oh, really? Libra Scales? What's your cousin's name? What's your cousin's name, Libra Scales? I'm just going to wait till you type it in. There it is, December 26, 1997, Lori Page Wasson. Huh. So that was up in Washington, probably. Yates, a married father of 5 children, was arrested Tuesday morning as he drove to work and was booked into the Spokane County Jail for investigation of first-degree murder in the death of one woman. In all the deaths of 18 women since 1990, most of them prostitutes, remain unsolved, Spokane County Sheriff spokesman Dave Regan said. Authorities say 10 of the deaths in 1997 and 1998 are the work of a single killer. The other 8 might be victims of the same killer, but evidence is not conclusive. Yates is a pilot with the Washington Army National Guard, which trains once a month at Fort Lewis near Tacoma. I just drove by that when I was getting my surgery. Spokesman Lieutenant Colonel Rick Patterson said 2 of the serial killer victims were found in the Tacoma area. Yates also had a career in the U.S. Army and was a commercial pilot licensed to fly, transport planes or helicopters. Army and Federal Aviation Administration records show. Authorities hope to compare blood samples with Yates with DNA evidence collected from some of the serial killer victims. Watertown Police, so this is where it sort of is interesting to them. Watertown Police Detective Sergeant Gary Common said Wednesday that Yates was not yet a suspect in the unsolved murder of Tina Hosmer Smith. She was found dead on the Watertown street in the summer of 1990. At this point, we're waiting on the word from Spokane, Common said. We don't know if he's a suspect until we can get a timeline on him to help us. We're trying to determine the exact time period he was at Fort Drum. We don't have exact dates. Yates was taken into custody and drove to his job as a replacement worker at a Kaiser Aluminum Corporation. All right. So we got that. And then August that same year, so that was April. So Yates was cleared of 2 killings in Germany, I guess. There was 2 prostitutes, or I guess, 2 people killed near where he was when he was serving in the military. It's crazy, Libra Scales. Maybe we can discuss that one night. DNA comparisons have cleared Robert Yates Jr. of 2 prostitute killings in Germany, and FBI agents involved in the case, that's what they said on Thursday. And more than 40 police agencies around the U.S. have so far not tied Yates to any of their murder cases. I wonder if he popped any of them. Right? Susanna? That was a joke just for you, Susanna. Come on, let's just all use regular words instead of pretending you're just, yada. We say popped over here because we're, All right. Yeah, well, apparently she was shot, this individual here. She is mentioned in here. Let's see. In Washington, Yates has been charged with 10 killings, 8 in Spokane and 2 in Tacoma. Yates has pleaded not guilty to all charges. No decision has been made on whether to pursue the death penalty. His trial is scheduled for May 2001. The death penalty was abolished in Washington, so he got taken away. I think he was given death, but then it was taken away because they got rid of it. Richard Fossey Yates' attorney could not be reached Thursday. Remember when Wesley Allen Dodds, he actually ended up, he chose being hung? Yeah. It means shot in circles of, law enforcement. I don't know. I don't know what it means. Let's see. Although no connection to Yates has emerged, some police departments say they still consider him a person of interest in their unsolved murders. And so this is the first page. In 1995, the body of a man dressed in woman's clothing was found under a bridge in Dale County. The man, Terrion Corbett, had been shot with a .45 caliber Glock handgun. Well, see, I think that was a guy that he thought was a prostitute, and then he shot. Yeah, you've said that 50 times, Susanna. Go back up and read your comments. Yeah, so that was the one. There's one person listed on Wikipedia, Patrick Allen Oliver. Is that the one that they're mentioning right there? Well, they didn't mention the name, but Patrick Allen Oliver, July 13th. That's 1975. That says 95, so I don't know if they ever figured that out, but it's sort of similar. Remember the Long Island serial killer? You have the Asian male, but he had the women's clothing. All right, so this is the second page of that article. It says, on August 1st, 1990, Tina Hosmer Smith was shot and killed about 4 a.m. near the old police station in Watertown. Common said detectives from Watertown have no immediate plans to travel to Spokane. Let's see what it says there. We still are waiting for military records and information from the FBI. I'm not sure at this point if they've placed him there. So this is November that year. Sergeant Gary Commons in Watertown, New York, said Yates is a suspect. Now, see how it's changed now? Yates is now a suspect in the slaying of Tina Hosmer Smith on August 1st, 1990. She was shot in front of the city's old police station after leaving a bar. Yates was stationed at Fort Drum near Watertown from 1991 to 1995. That's crazy, right? Although she was shot in 1990, so I'm not sure how that works. Yates was stationed at Fort Drum near Watertown from 91 to 1995. Commons has not determined Yates' whereabouts at the time of the murder because of difficulties in retrieving military records. Well, let's see where that is. Fort Drum. No, shit, that's not far away at all. How about 15 miles, right? 10. It's only 10 miles away. Man, that's pretty damn close. Walker said records are especially spotty before 1992. That has also stalled an investigation in Yakima, where detectives have reopened a pair of missing persons cases. Susan Marable and Julie Miranda disappeared within 5 months of each other in late 1990 and early 1991. We've looked at the timeline, but he was nowhere near as far as we can tell, feeding suspicions that there may be more Yates victims are unidentified. I bet he killed way more people than they know about, especially because they're prostitutes. And you know, you should probably just look any missing prostitutes wherever he was at any time. I mean, he's you know, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13, 14, 16 victims that they know about. Yet another officer looking into possible Yates connections is Mike Hawley, a sheriff in Island County, Washington. He knows Yates worked as an orderly at a Whidbey Island hospital about the time Teresa Hasselgrave was killed in 1976. Well, that's interesting. She's not on that list. He wants to arrange a meeting with Yates to ask him if he was involved. We just want a yes or no, he said. So, you know, that's really it. I mean, there was no write-up like when she first went missing. At least not in newspapers.com. Hey everybody, listen, Selena Lolly's really bored to death. Okay, and the reason is because I'm not talking about Morpheo. She's one of those people that only watches those types of cases. Okay, so hey, Selena Lolly, this isn't going to be a channel for you. Isn't that amazing? But you can stay here and make your comments over and over again. Alright? But that was all the information they had on this case. And people like her are an embarrassment. Just an embarrassment to humanity. She probably walks down the street with just covering her face because she's so ashamed. Yeah, just like the idiots that made all the comments in that community post today. Like, they don't have a clue what the hell goes on. Like, right there. See how rude Gray was? Did you see how rude Gray was? Because they don't read the comment that somebody just made. Just a loser. Jesus. Did you hear that? Gray called me a loser. Oh, God.
Well, what did she say?
Well, she said she was really bored.
Okay, well, she deserved it then.
Yeah, exactly, guys. Alright, now we're going to move on to Mary Jo Frug. Okay, this one's by Layla My Layla. I like that name for some reason. Layla My Layla. Maybe that's your kid's name or something, right? What do you mean see rumor was? What does that mean see rumor was? What does that mean? No, maybe. Oh, Shawcross? Yeah, there was just no other information. I don't do the Reddit stuff. I don't look at Reddit. I just do what the newspapers were reporting and, you know, kind of look at stuff like that. Because that's where you're going to get the more factual information. But if you have more information on that, the email that I got to cover this had absolutely nothing in it, just a name. I had to like try to find that one. Hey, thanks Kit Kat and Allie Cake. Oh my God, you're sending me to... Can you believe that? She sent me to mean jail.
Grady, you're so mean.
Well, why are you crying now? I'm the one that got put in jail. Yeah, like, yeah, every case that I cover has, right, exactly, Mag. They're not, some of them aren't like the really hot ones that everybody wants to talk about over and over again. Forget all the other ones, though. Let's just keep talking about the same ones. I want to do a week where we go over and talk about, oh, forget it. Let's do a Chris Watts revival week. Oh, thanks, Mac. I know you got me earlier. That's enough, man. That's a cup of coffee. I get the hell out of there. How about we do a full week on JonBenet Ramsey and repeat what everybody else has said 1,000 times? Or is it possible that every once in a while you can talk about these other cases that nobody really ever talks about and give some focus in on those? All right? Awesome. I don't. What does that even mean? What's a pod? Share a pod. Oh yeah. Thanks, Geeka Keys. All right, I'm gonna be doing Mary Jo Frug. She is so Layla. That's not her real name, of course, but she went to law school. I don't know if it was
for commissary or bail grid.
Harvard or the law school in the town there. I can't remember the name all of a sudden. But went there right after this murder, and it was something that probably cast a pall over it. Oh, your dog's name? Okay. Come here, Layla, my Layla. Right? That's how you do it, right? I knew it because I had a dog named Lily that I would do that with too. Lily, come here, Lily. Yeah. She lived till she was 17 years old, Lily did. She was Lili, right? Which is similar to Layla, right? But it was Lily. That was my dog's name. And she was 17 years old. I probably should have put her to sleep 2 years prior, but I kept her alive on heart medication and had to clean her crate out every single day. But she still seemed to mildly enjoy life, so I kept it going. I've told you guys this before, but there's one crazy story with Lily when she was about 15. Maybe it was, shit, yeah, it's like 15, you know, still that's old as hell for a dog, right? Hey, thanks, Angie Pangie. I was on the way to the coast, and I had a girlfriend at the time, and we went onto a bridge. This little bridge, just pulled over, let the dogs walk around. And the girlfriend went up on the top of the bridge, and I went down below the bridge. And Lily and me and I think it was me and Rocky went down below.
You to do no more. What's or Ramsey, for God's sake?
We went down below. Yeah, Angie Pangie, I'm gonna do it again. 2 weeks worth of that shit. All right, so it goes down. I went down below with Rocky, and then she went up above, and all of a sudden I saw this blur out of the corner of my eye, and Lily jumped off the bridge, which was like probably 10 feet, 15 feet up in the air, and then flew into a bush, and then just rolled over and just peed, and then walked around like nothing happened. It's like, man, if that bush wasn't there, she easily would have broke something. And if Rocky had jumped off, he would have probably killed himself because he weighed like 15. He was like a bowling ball. Okay, it would be like putting a water balloon and dropping it from 15 feet. That's what. That's what Rocky would have been like. At least she was thin. Okay. But anyways, it was so weird. She just hit the ground, rolled over, and just took a piss like it was nothing. Man, I remember that was just the weirdest thing I've ever seen. All right. Yeah, there's a New England law school there. Is that the one that you went to, or because she also taught at Harvard, I thought, at one time. Okay, so I'm going to go back in time. Where you're going to be using newspapers.com again. Yep. Hey, thanks, Geeka Keys. So here we go. Mary Jo Frug, 1991. I think it was like April 4th. A Harvard University research fellow was fatally stabbed last night near her Cambridge home as she walked to a store, authorities said last night. Mary Jo Frug, 40, was found lying on Spark Street near the intersection of Brewster Street around 8:57 p.m. by Cambridge police, who had been sent to the area near Brattle Street on reports of a motor vehicle accident. No accident had occurred, but police discovered Frug lying in the street. As first aid was being applied, officials discovered she had suffered several stab wounds, authorities said. A spokeswoman for Middlesex District Attorney Thomas Riley said Frug had apparently left home to walk to a store about 200 yards away. Frug was taken by ambulance to Mount Auburn Hospital, where she was pronounced dead, Boyle said. He said last night that police were canvassing the area, talking to residents and possible witnesses. As of 11:30 p.m., no arrests had been made, he said. Authorities said Frug was a fellow at Harvard's Bunting Institute, and that's over here. That's Harvard's Bunting Institute right there. These are all the pins that I have associated here. Her husband worked right in this location. And she was a fellow there, but she was on sabbatical at this point. Let me get rid of that. Authorities said Frug was a fellow at Harvard's Bunting Institute. It has a different name though now. It's called Radcliffe Institute of Advanced Study, but it was called Bunting Institute. And is on leave from New England School of Law. Frug was the mother of a 10-year-old child. She was married to Gerald Frug, a Harvard Law School professor, officials said. She specialized in family law and written on parental rights and adoptive rights. Cambridge homicide detectives and state police attached to Riley's office are investigating. Let's see, is that part? Oh, or investigating, that was it. Now this is the next day in the paper. Harvard shocked by slaying of Radcliffe's scholar. The stabbing death of law professor Mary Jo Frug near her home has alarmed both residents and students at Harvard University, who say they once considered their community one of the safest in the Boston area. Mary Jo Frug, 49, must have had her child kind of late at 39, but I mean, it's not really that late anymore. professor at New England School of Law, a fellow at Radcliffe College, and a respected feminist, legal scholar. So once you hear the word she was a feminist, then, you know, you sort of think, is there a political angle at some point? Was stabbed 5 times in the chest Thursday about 9 p.m. as she walked to a local convenience store. So it was dark outside, being April. Cambridge police are now looking for a white male in his 20s, about 5'11", who was reported lurking in the area that evening, officials said. Police have recovered a knife that may be the murder weapon and took plaster casts of footprints nearby. This was a vicious, violent assault. Frug leaves 2 children and a husband, Gerald, who is a law professor at Harvard University. Murphy said Frug was 1.5 blocks from her home on Spark Street. So once I saw that, 1.5 blocks from her home on Spark Street. Let's see, let me get to that. Ooh, Jesus. Gotta get out. Let me get out of this. So 1.5 blocks from her home. I was able to look up and find her that they lived in this house right here. And this really beautiful, I mean, that's just what a great house that is right there. So right there. And then she walked that direction. So from there, she walked like this. And that looks like exactly 1.5 blocks, you know, like almost 1.5 would be right there. But she was found right here, collapsed in the driveway of this church right here. And I think that's what they say right here. 1.5 blocks from her home on Spark Street in a well-lighted, often traveled area when she was apparently confronted by an assailant who stabbed her repeatedly. She managed to flag down a vehicle before collapsing in the driveway of a church on the corner of Sparks and Brewster. Okay, well this right here is Brewster. This is Sparks. And then you go down to Street View here. And this is where she collapsed in the driveway of this church right here. So this is where she collapsed on the ground right here. I'm sorry if this is making people want to yawn, but no, hey, Selena, it's not that. It's just people like you are an embarrassment to society. Okay, so we're just gonna have to hide you on the channel. All right. Good luck to you. Yeah. So she was found on the ground right here. Now, once I heard that, I thought, well, gosh, was she going? Did she go to? I mean, I literally thought to myself, did she go to a grocery store? When I first found it, it was a block and a half from her house. Then it turns out later she did go to a grocery store, and then I looked it up, and there was one that was listed here, but it turns out that that isn't where it was, and it was at a place called Sage Junior was the name of the store. And the address is right in the middle of the street right here. So, and this side of the street had the odd numbers, and I think it was this building, but the building's been modified since then, or there was some other building here. I don't know. Okay, but what was interesting was that I found this article. The only place I could find it, since it doesn't exist anymore, was in here. This crazy PDF file that I downloaded, and right here it said smaller food stores, less than 1,000 square feet area. Sage Junior, 168 Heron Avenue. Okay, well, it just happened to be in this old document, and there it is right there. Okay, so that's where she was at, Sage Junior store. Now I think it's over here because of the odd numbers are on this side of the street. Okay, so that's where she went to the store. So when they say 200 yards from her house, I don't, you know, that's not accurate. The store itself is, let's see, you know, as a crow flies, 1/3 of a mile. It's a short distance, though. I mean, the whole route would probably be a little over, like, like 0.4 miles, less than a half mile. Yeah, I don't even know who that person is. Let me unhide that person. We'll let them apologize later for being an idiot. All right. So right here, she managed to flag down a vehicle before collapsing in the driveway of a church on the corner of Sparks and Brewster. We just showed you where that was. Both the driver of the vehicle and neighbor who heard screams called police. She was taken to Mount Auburn Hospital, where she was pronounced dead. Murphy said the motive of the assault remained unclear. The woman's purse was recovered, and it did not appear to be rifled. So it seems like it's a hit at this point. At this point, her purse is there. It's either a hit or just some crazed maniac that wanted to kill. Because they didn't rob or take anything that she had. All right, let me move on to the next article here. Actually, let's see. Late yesterday afternoon, a basket of pink carnations and white chrysanthemums had been placed near the spot where Frug's body was found. This is one of the nicest areas in the city. Harvard students spoke up. So then there was all these protests, really. I mean, people would get to these town hall meetings where everybody was really angry. Yeah, well, you finally had something that other cities have. Imagine if Chicago had town hall meetings after every killing. Wow, could you imagine that? Oh, God. I'm just reading these dumb comments by Selena. You come in here and you go, yawn, like you're so important to everybody. I'm doing the shows that I always do. If they're boring, listen to everybody. I'm going to tell you this right now. If my shows are boring for you, then don't watch it. It's so simple. There's all these other things to watch. It's incredible. So why come in and say, oh, boring? Because everybody's supposed to look at you and go, wow, and you're so interesting. It's bizarre, okay? Really. Hey, thanks, Cuckoo Bananas. All right, now, and by the way, I had somebody switch over from Patreon to being a channel member, mainly because, like today, last night's show I wanted to delete, but I said, hey, you know what, let's just make it for members only, because you have that option now. And they were, and I can't do that for Patreon people, which sucks. I'm sorry about that. They don't have an option on Facebook or YouTube. Yeah, well, the thing is, some people... here's the thing is, I know that I'm boring to some people, right? But here's the thing is, don't watch the show then. You know what I mean? It's like, it's so simple. It's ridiculous. Like, there's shows on TV that I think are boring as hell and everyone else loves. All right. Police seek motive in slaying. Police investigating the murder of Mary Jo Frug spent yesterday interviewing her friends, colleagues, and residents. Well, okay, I don't know who you're referring to, but it sounded like you were definitely talking about my show when you typed that comment in. So if you've changed your mind, great. Yeah, but either way, I mean, bashing other, channel members and so forth. Police investigating the murder of Mary Jo Frug spent yesterday interviewing her friends, colleagues, and residents in the Brattle Street neighborhood where she was stabbed to death. There's nothing sensational about the work we are doing. They're, just doing old-fashioned police work. It's hard work. Riley said police were continuing to pursue a report that a man was seen lurking in the bushes near the scene of the stabbing. shortly before it occurred. So that's sort of interesting because it seems like somebody that would do that would be sort of aware that maybe somebody would be coming by there. 5'11" to 6'1". Said one detective assigned to the investigation, "We're just going back, re-talking to people and canvassing the area." She was a prominent public speaker and an ardent feminist. Spahn said Frug was also politically and intellectually incisive, but was such a warm, wonderful, caring. So that means she was really, like, you know, with her writings, very hard-hitting and might, you know, push people the wrong way, but personally, she was very nice. She said the teachers sometimes were about students being angered over bad grades or developing crushes, but Frug never complained to Spahn or other colleagues about smitten students. "Every woman professor I know has had a student develop a crush." According to police, Frug, 49, was stabbed at least 5 times in the chest and leg at the corner of Sparks and Brewster Streets. Frug, who lives on Sparks Street with her husband and 2 children, died at Mount Auburn Hospital. Sounds like she was already dead on the street. Her husband, Gerald Frug, a Harvard Law School professor, and her daughter, Emily, 16, were at home during the murder, which occurred shortly before 9 p.m. She had a wonderful relationship with Jerry and his kids, said Spahn. She was a superwoman. She did it all. And then here's where I got the information on the store. Merchants recall a polite customer. Frug frequently patronized several of the businesses near the corner of Concord and Huron Avenues. Merchants said she was a polite, unassuming customer. And that area that they just mentioned was, or is, right here. See, there's Concord and Huron. So all these stores here is what they're talking about. Andy Padillero, 28, who works as an assistant manager at Sage Jr., Frug's destination the night of her murder, said she came here several times a week. She was a regular customer. Padillero said Frug's last visit to the store was Wednesday afternoon when she came to retrieve a health spa membership card she had left there a day earlier. She was always had nice words to say. She did a lot of her shopping locally, so we saw her often. And they did say that they found a knife in a yard on this street right here. And I don't know where on that street, wherever that was located would give an indication, but it seems like she might have been stabbed here and then the assailant went down this direction and then left the knife on one of the yards on the street right here. I bet Layla has been at all these places. She's been on these streets, knows it all. You know, this is April 8th, so now we're just into the 4th day. Investigators working on the murder case of the law professor Mary Jo Frug, who was fatally stabbed Thursday night near Harvard Square, had been unable to turn up clues that would suggest anything other than a random attack. I know of nothing in her background that would account for something like this. You know, except for, you know, she's really political. But I don't think a lot of people kill other than, you know, people like Antifa and stuff like that over just having an opinion, like a feminist. Like, why would you kill a feminist? You know? I always wonder if I can open a door for a feminist, though. Like, that's the struggle that I have. If I'm in front of a feminist, can I open the door like a guy does, or, you know, how I was taught, or do I have to wait and let her do it? And I don't know. They might say, "What are you doing? Open the door! Don't you know we're capable too?" Yeah, I know. I know that's not what I was talking about, though. Just yeah, but why should I have to explain it at all? You know, it's just the way it is. I'm just goofing around, you guys. I'm gonna open the door. I'm not gonna know that somebody behind me is a feminist. Yeah, you see how crazy this... You think that's gonna work in here, Selena? Yeah, it's not gonna work too well. I mean, how come she's still talking about it? We moved on to something else. Like, she hadn't made a comment for like 20 minutes. Oh boy. I know why it was boring. We weren't talking about the case she wanted to talk about. The one that we covered early. Hey, believe you can go back and watch that at the beginning, alright? Okay. Police have said a man was reported seen hiding in the bushes near the scene of the stabbing shortly before it occurred. The man is described as white in his 20s. Yep. We already got that. 5 foot to 6'1". Yeah, I mean, this really quickly becomes like that's all they've got. You know, there might be some other inside info, but I don't have any access to that. Now, maybe Layla can get a hold of somebody down the road, and then we can do another show with other, you know, maybe there's some inside info that we could talk about. Inside the white brick church, the choir was practicing a lullaby. This one here's about her accomplished life. Let me read this part. It is not known how long she... Let me read this part here. Outside, unheard by the 40 people seen... Oh, wow, I didn't realize that's what this is about. I mean, the rest of the article is about that, but look at this part here. It says, inside the white brick church, that's where she was dying, the choir was practicing a lullaby, one of a selection of Armenian songs for an upcoming concert. Outside, unheard by the 40 people singing the praises of the Holy Mother, Mary Jo Frug, and Holy Mother... Man, that's so weird, Holy Mother. You almost want to put those together. Holy Mother Mary, right? Like Holy Mother, and then Mary Jo Frug, an outgoing feminist legal scholar, was screaming as her life began to ebb away on a darkened street where million-dollar Victorian homes sit well back from the hedge-lined sidewalks. It is not known how long she lay on the corner of Sparks and Brewster Streets as the sounds of footsteps of her killer grew fainter and the lullaby continued to waft from the church. It was only when someone ran into the church asking to use a telephone to call police because a woman had been hit by a car that the music stopped. So that's probably what the person thought at the time. You know, who would think that somebody got stabbed in that neighborhood? By then, Frug, who had been stabbed, had stopped screaming and was in shock. With no witnesses coming forward, police hunted for a motive, let alone her killer, have visited the campus of Harvard Law School, probing the highest echelons of academia, scanned the grades of hundreds of students at the New England School of Law, brushed up on feminist history, and tried to determine if a schoolboy crush could have turned deadly. I mean, it does seem, you know, personal, right? Which is weird because a hit normally you would just have a gun and shoot the person and take off. So it's strange that, she's stabbed in the chest 5 times. It's kind of a personal hit. Almost like they wanted to take her out, but they knew her and didn't like her at all. And in the neighborhood that claims residents ranging From Harvard's professors to world-famous architects, from legal and media moguls to investment bankers, the murder has people checking their burglar alarms and changing their daily routine. See, this always happens when there's just a killing that doesn't normally happen in a place. Everybody changes. So I'm not going to go over all this. This is a huge article here, but let's see. Maybe I'll just read part of each one of these. In 1974, while Jerry Frug was at the University of Pennsylvania, Mary Jo taught at Villanova Law School. She got tenure there and stayed until 1981 when the Frugs moved to Cambridge. She went to New England School of Law and he went to Harvard. The arguments about the direction of the law school and how its students should be educated became so vitriolic that the National Law Journal said it was turning Harvard into the Beirut of legal education. Okay, this is where maybe this part here launched a feminist group. If Mary Jo Frug, I mean, here's something that's probably a possibility that maybe they haven't thought of, was that she starts this feminist group, and let's say there's a guy out there who ends up getting divorced from somebody, and it was because that woman became different through the teachings of Mary Jo Frug, where she became much more strong-willed and said, you know what, I'm getting divorced and I don't care what, before he had control, right? And then she left him, and he knew that she left him because of that, and it would be almost impossible to figure out who that person was. You'd have to look up all divorces that happened within a month prior to that and look into each one of those. Because I think that's definitely something, that would create it's her fault, when I say that. I'm just saying, like, in his mind, it's her fault, and he would have the personal rage to kill her the way he did. And I think the spouse he seemed fine here. There was no motive or anything. This doesn't sound like a spouse moment. Yeah. So if Mary Jo Frug was anything, she was active in exchanging ideas and challenging basic assumptions. In the early 1980s, Frug and Dalton started a feminist critical legal studies group. Frug was often the one who led discussions or carried them when they started to disintegrate, friends said. One of Mary Jo Frug's great contributions to critical legal studies was the introduction of feminist analysis to the cause. My sense of Mary Jo is the scholarly community is that she was always very interested in both the work of critical legal studies and developing a network in the feminist legal community. Her importance to both groups in particular was she built a connection between them. She got critical legal studies to turn in a feminist direction. She was somebody who was able to build dialogue between men and women. Yeah, right. Except for a man who wouldn't have wanted to have that. He wanted the control, and you took that away with your teachings. Right? I think they should look into that. Kind of makes sense. Somebody that got just felt like she's completely to blame. I mean, I know it'd be, it's kind of a shot in the dark, but her most widely recognized work was a 1985 article in the American University Law Review that looked at a first-year contracts casebook and found that the use of women, usually naive victims or omitted in cases involving economically astute parties reinforce gender stereotypes. Yeah, see, I mean, that's sort of in that what I'm talking about. Let's see. Found that the use of women, usually naive victims, or omitted in cases involving economically astute parties, reinforce gender stereotypes. My objective is critical in character, for I believe a feminist analysis should change one's consciousness, she wrote in the paper introduction. However, I do not intend to deliver a diatribe against the casebook or its editors. Rather, I am writing this for the readers of other casebooks in hopes of accomplishing two goals. First, I want to, this is what she wrote actually, I want to demonstrate that readers' views about gender affect their understanding of a law casebook. Second, I want to demonstrate that gendered aspects of a casebook affect readers' understanding of the law and themselves. If these endeavors are successful, I hope that casebook readers will be liberated from some of their opinions about gender, opinions that casebook fosters and sustains. She broke new ground and opened eyes, her friends say, since that paper was published. Other feminist theorists have done similar work in other areas of the law, such as torts and procedures. So, anyways, hey, thanks, Lee Dobby. It looks like her students were devoted, or she was devoted to students, I mean. According to a source close to the investigation, in the days after the murder, police with permission searched the room of a third-year law student who is a close friend of Jerry Frug, but found, that must have been the husband. Yeah. But found nothing that would make them believe the young man is a suspect. Huh, so were they thinking he was like a hitman for the husband, or just he was friends with the family, but he had a crush on her or something? A source said the man was the first person, oh, there you go, Frug called after his wife was murdered. Oh, I see. Well, that's mildly interesting to support Susanna's, thoughts. A source said the man was the first person that Frug called after his wife was murdered, April 4th. But, he is a close friend, so. But he's kind of young, so you sort of wonder what that was about. And friends of the family and law enforcement sources say the young man has been Frug's companion, comforting him and taking long walks with him in the wake of the murder. Huh. Well, is there any sort of theories that maybe he was in a relationship with that guy? And then maybe that person, maybe, this is just total speculation here. I'm admitting it. And that he took out, well, I'm just saying, the guy's going on these long walks and comforting him every single night. Yeah, the way they wrote it, that's what it sounded like, okay? So I know it's kind of weird. He was an assistant. It said he was a close friend of the husband. Not just like an assistant, but a close friend. Then it said, a source said the man was the first person Frug called after his wife was murdered. So that's interesting that you would call a third-year law student right after you call in that your wife's missing. Wait, hold on a second. Why would he have to call in? Was the first person Frug called after his wife was after his wife was murdered. Sorry, I thought it said went missing. Okay, so after his wife was murdered, I was wondering why would he have to call anybody? I'm sure he heard about it like within 2 seconds. I mean, never mind. A source said the man was the first person Frug called after his wife was murdered. So his wife's murdered, then he calls the 3-year law student. Not her family, not, you know, a family member. Yeah, I think that's a little weird. What do you guys think of that right there? So he's not young. So the student wasn't young, is that what you're saying? Even though he's a 3rd-year law student? I bet you he could have been probably 30-something at least. Yeah, you're right. It says 20. But who knows? You know, when somebody says they're 20, they could be 30 and just look young, right? Yeah, so I don't know here. I mean, that's a little... I didn't actually read that earlier. That's an interesting extra little bit of information there. So let me go through that again. A source said the man was the first person Frug called after his wife was murdered on April 4th. And friends of the family and law enforcement sources say the young man, it says, so it does use the word young man, and guess what? The killer is, 20, they thought, has been Frug's companion, comforting him and taking long walks with him in the wake of the murder. So it's weird that he called him, and he's the same guy he's going on these walks with. Like, they're just attached at the hip really close. Like, yeah, well, it's probably a rabbit hole, but this is new to us, so we're going down that one now. But we don't know. We don't know. When you say discussing, maybe it's not discussing at all. He was just a good friend walking down the street with him. So look at it like that. There's just two angles there, that it could have been somebody he was... There could be something nefarious about it, but it could just be that he's a third-year law student and become really close with Gerald. And they... it's strange. It is strange. It is strange, though, that he called him first. Don't you find that a little odd? Yeah, I do. And then down here, look what it says here. Neither Frug nor the man would agree to be interviewed by the Globe. So they wouldn't be interviewed by the newspaper, but I'm sure the police did. Friends bristle at suggestions made by investigators during their inquiries that Mary Jo Frug may have been involved with someone other than her husband. Well, I think you guys got that a little bit backwards there. With someone other than her husband, and that led to her murder. We have spent a lot of hours. It could be either way, though, actually. Because it could have been that the student... The part that turns everything, makes it odd, is that he called, if that's true, that Gerald called that student, then it is a lot different than all of a sudden if the student just started being, hey, can I help get you through this? Let me walk with you. Let me do that. Then it would seem like he was trying to cover up for something else. But now it's like, wow, he got called first. We've spent a lot of hours discussing how this could happen, said a close family friend. The secret life theory, here we go, just doesn't seem right. But don't think of it from her side. It could have been somebody that didn't want her around. The secret life theory just doesn't seem right. She didn't seem to be a person in that category. She seemed very open bookish. The same thing with Jerry. He is not a secret type person. On the other hand, how many random psychotics are there out there? It is preposterous, said Dalton of Northeastern University. I bet he probably said it like this. It's preposterous. As he puffed into a pipe. As he drew smoke from a pipe. Yeah, by the way, if you join Patreon, I really appreciate it because it gets taxed less. There's no, by Google anyways. Google doesn't tax it at all. But you can be a member too at the same time. Like you could be a Patreon and then do the lowest level of channel membership, which is $1.99. Then you can see those things. You just get less percentage off on merchandise. I just saw that somebody put in the Patreon button. All right. Okay, so down here it said, Mary Jo didn't have the time for a secret life, and on another level, see, they're on the wrong side here. What about the other side, though? Right? Friends said that the Frugs had a deep, strong relationship and shared a common interest in the law and had many mutual friends. They were often each other's first readers for articles, and Mary Jo would often walk to Harvard Square with Jerry and have coffee and a muffin. Yeah, so, you know, who knows? I'd like to know why that guy was called first, though. Mary Jo was passionate about parenting, friends said, and made time for her children. Stefan 20 and Emily 16. Dinner was a time for the family. Oh, I thought the one child was 10 earlier. So she was a little bit older than I thought when she had children. I think 30 and 34. On the last night of her life, with dinner over, Mary Jo made a call to her friend Judy Greenberg. We confirmed a date for breakfast Friday morning. Aside from that, it was just what Mary Jo would have called chit-chat. The conversation ended about 8:30 p.m. and Frug left her husband and daughter and went for a walk up Spark Street to a convenience store on Huron Avenue. So here's the thing. Everything that they're saying could be true. And it is, but the part that makes it, again, I keep going back to it, because look at it. Let's just say they both got along perfectly. And they were, just like everybody's saying, but that student had a special sort of, you know, desire of some kind and wanted her out of the picture. Okay? That kind of makes a little sense. I mean, it's weird, but that kind of crap happens. But then it just throws it all on its head when you say he was the first person that the husband called after he found out she was murdered. Right? Yeah. Yeah, that is off. That is totally off topic there. But that's pretty funny. What you just wrote there, Marissa. Yeah, I don't know. And it's kind of interesting a little bit. I didn't see that earlier. Police have said that about the time of the stabbing, a man about 5'11", 6'1", wearing dark clothing and with brown hair was seen in bushes. Now I want to know what this guy looked like, the student. Riley refused to say if the man was spotted near the Frug's house, which might lend credence to the theory that someone wanted to kill Mary Jo or closer to the spot where she died. Let's see. Say if the man was spotted near the Frug's house, which might lend credence to the theory that someone wanted to kill Mary Jo or closer to the spot where she died, which might indicate the attack was random. The choir was singing as she passed the Armenian Holy Trinity Apostolic Church. Frug was dressed in a white top, black skirt, and white pantyhose, and some members of the choir thought she could have been coming to sing with them. Her eyes were half open, and I pushed some strands of hair away from her face and grabbed her right hand and said, "Ma'am, can you hear me?" recalled David Medzorian, a member of the choir. She said absolutely nothing. I stayed with her and held her hand, but she said nothing. When the wife of Harvard law professor came out of her house after hearing screaming and saw that it was Mary Jo Frug, she ran the short distance to the Frug's house to tell them. Emily and Jerry Frug arrived and Frug started hugging his daughter, who was crying hysterically shortly after they got to the coroner. Paramedics put Mary Jo Frug in an ambulance and drove her to Mount Auburn Hospital. That's pretty messed up. Yeah, so the DA started looking all over the country, I think maybe for like a serial killer or something like that. Yeah. So the office had not received results from tests. They didn't receive at this time tests from the knife at that point that they'd sent to the FBI because they wanted to make sure that the knife was related to the case. Okay, and then in October, it has been a shade more than 6 months since New England School of Law professor Mary Jo Frug was murdered on exclusive Cambridge Street, and police are still unable to say whether the attack was random or premeditated. Right. Well, I think if it wasn't random, you already would have had to kill her. It seems like. Although, I guess not. But there'd be evidence that proved that it wasn't random, and that's how it would lead to somebody, right? I think it looks more like a hit, and it was personal in nature. Frug, 49, a well-known feminist legal scholar and the wife of Harvard Law School professor Gerald Frug, was stabbed to death shortly before 9 p.m. A half dozen state and local police worked on the case in the first few days after the murder, but now 2 state police detectives and 1 Cambridge detective are assigned to it. We are still very active, they say. You know, it was interesting when I was doing this, a lot of the hits that you get in newspapers.com were letters to the editor by people complaining about the coverage of the Boston Globe and how sensationalistic they were. Like there was no new information, and they'd have full articles. Boy, doesn't that sound familiar? Who does that? Who covers cases on YouTube when there's no information? And, well, just sounds so familiar. And she wrote a lot, and there were some people that were trying to finish up on some of her work. Okay, that was October 1991, and then April 1992. And this story here became bigger than the actual murder story. Harvard law students' parody of slain professor's text decried. All right, so apparently she had written something that she hadn't really published, and then it got leaked, and I'm not sure if it was published by, I don't know how it got out there, but it was maybe published posthumously, and then these kids made a parody of it, and my God, they turned this into Watergate, which is hilarious, right? Because it's free speech. You'd think that these Cambridge elites, these law professors would have been absolutely like, well, you know what? Yeah, we didn't like it. The president of Harvard Law Review has denounced what she termed the vicious, degrading, and grotesque parody. But they were probably really into the I was going to try to remember that name, the mummification. They were okay with the erotic mummification, but not this one. The parody appeared last week in The Review, an annual spoof edition written by third-year students, which is interesting, right? Third-year law student. Where did we hear that before? An annual spoof edition written by third-year students on the Law Review, an association of students committed to the highest standard of legal scholarship. distributed at a banquet attended by review editors, their guests, faculty, and members and alumni. The article was called A Manifesto of Post-Mortem Legal Feminism, under the byline, Mary Doe, Rigor Mortis, Professor of Law. Yeah, so they just picked the wrong person to parody. That's really what they're angry about. Yeah, I thought it wasn't published. How come you typed it in so many times? I think there was a different time where I was reading where I thought it wasn't published yet. It was something that she had written. No, I guess it was an article. It says right there. So, the spoof appeared 1 year to the day after Mary Jo Frug, a 49-year-old New England School of Law professor, was fatally stabbed by someone wielding a military-style knife near her Cambridge home. Frug was widely recognized for her scholarship in the field of feminist legal theory. The review published in March, the draft. That's what it was. See, there it was. I just misworded, but here. The review published in March the draft of an article Frug had written. So she hadn't, it was just a draft. So she didn't go and publish it, right? They published a draft that she had written. So it wasn't even something she had finished. Okay, so I think I'm like half right there. See? It says right here, the review published in March the draft of an article Frug had written titled A Post-Mortem Feminist Legal Manifesto. In a 3-page letter issued on Saturday to Harvard law students, Harvard Law Review president Emily Schulman. Yeah, I knew that they published it, but it wasn't, she didn't publish it. Okay? So that's where I'm coming from. In a 3-page letter issued on Saturday to Harvard law students, Harvard Law Review president Emily Schulman emphasized that the review is not an official publication of the Harvard Law Review and said some of the students responsible for its content will be issuing a public apology for the role they played in the production. But isn't that weird? Why would they have to apologize? It's free speech. You know, it definitely, you know, isn't, you know, it's not, what do you call it? Very couth. I'm not sure why that's the one word I need some other synonyms for that. Yeah, it's weird to pick somebody that, yeah, tacky, it's lame, right? But it should have been something that the school just said, while we disagree, we think it's embarrassing for them to have done that. They have the right to do it. One of these articles even had like Dershowitz in it. So Harvard, no censor for spoof. So this is now they're starting to, about a month later, Harvard Law School said it would not discipline the authors of a parody of the Harvard Law Review that spoofed the work of a slain professor. The school's administrative board said it had decided not to pursue an investigation. Wow, how gracious of you. I don't even think you had a right to. As a matter of fact, I think you would get in trouble if you punish them for that. Into charge of sexual harassment at the Harvard Law, well, let's see, said it decided not to pursue, maybe this is something different here. It seemed like it was, now definitely mentioned, yeah, it says Frug down here, let me do this again. The school administrative board said it had decided not to pursue an investigation into the incident so a different one, or into charges of sexual harassment at the Harvard Law Review. Two of the review staffers produced the spoof, which targeted, so that's harassment, Mary Jo Frug, a professor at the New England School of Law who was stabbed to death April 1991. An essay Frug wrote on violence against women was published in the Harvard Law Review in March under the title A Postmodernist Feminist Legal Manifesto. The parody in the Law Review, a spoof put out by members of the Law Review staff last month, was called the He Manifesto of Post-Mortem Legal Feminism, and signed Mary Doe Rigor Mortis Professor of Law. The spoof asserted that Frug's work was published in the Law Review only because she was married to a Harvard Law School professor. The parody had prompted outrage among many students and faculty in recent weeks, who charged the parody was a symptom of sexist attitudes at the school. Yeah, and there's a whole bunch of other articles on that. This is the last newspaper article I could find, so this is 2016. So let's see if there's any new information in this one. Mary Jo Frug's brutal murder stunned a contentious academic community. The killing of law professor Mary Jo Frug on a quiet street in Cambridge had all the markings of a paperback mystery, maybe too many. After the brutal 1991 slaying, police spent considerable time chasing down a far-fetched theory that seems straight out of Murder, She Wrote, that Frug, a respected feminist scholar, had been stabbed to death by an academic rival. Some of the evidence did seem to point to a targeted killing. An unknown assailant stabbed Frug on Spark Street and then vanished. Detectives said the killer had been full of rage based on the vicious nature of the attack. The murderer didn't take her purse, seemingly ruling out robbery as a motive, and Frug's feminist scholarship supposed some observers seemed controversial enough to make enemies. But according to Globe reports at the time, her colleagues scoffed at the idea. We interviewed people who disagreed with her politics, but police say, look, when I disagree with somebody, I write an article saying how stupid they are and what I believe is right. Hey, I do that every night on my show. Yeah. I don't go out and kill them. Yes, but the difference is I get emails from idiots threatening that exact same thing. Investigators eventually moved away from the theory that Frug, a professor at the New England School of Law and the wife of Harvard Law professor Gerald Frug, had been killed by a rival or a student angry over a grade. Indeed, they were never able to determine whether Frug had been targeted at all or was the victim of a random attack. At the first anniversary of Frug's death, the New England School of Law put up a $25,000 reward for information leading to an arrest, but since then the trail has only grown colder. A spokeswoman for Middlesex District Attorney Marion Ryan said investigators were still actively investigating the case and urged those with information that might be helpful, no matter how seemingly insignificant, to contact law enforcement. Let's see. The Middlesex District Attorney's Office has continued to examine evidence and follow up on people described by witnesses who saw things in the area before and after the murder, she added. We also continue to look into factors personal to Miss Frug and her family, although to date we have been unable to identify who killed Frug or what the motive may have been. We continue to try to answer those questions. Frug, meanwhile, hasn't been forgotten. Her work was celebrated in a recent special edition of New England Law Review published on the 25th. After such a horrifying event, there is no such thing as closure. Bam. Her husband wrote in an introduction, the murder left a permanent wound. And that's what we say all the time. There's no such thing as closure. Yeah. So there, I mean, I got some other articles, but I think we kind of have the gist of it, right? So that was an interesting case there, Layla, my Layla. I hope I put out enough of the information. I mean, there's different articles, but I'm sure they all pretty much say the same kind of thing. But yeah, if you get a hold of those people and have inside information, I'd be more than happy to, do an update. That's been kind of fun doing the ones where people tell me about a case that nobody's talking about whatsoever, and then I cover it, and then at least they're in the chat and they can kind of keep us up to date, or like answer questions that people might have. Yeah. All right. Well, I don't know. I don't really have much more to do tonight. Zozo's probably like, "Good, Gray, you're so mean." Right? Yeah, I lost the chat window. What? I'm just kidding. Yeah, you missed the whole show, Charlie Enoch. Yeah, I don't know. I want to get a little bit early rest tonight. My wound was healing really well. Then a couple nights of 3-hour shows, and then it's still almost healed, but still a little bit. Yeah, that's right. BBT Boston. That's right. The one that heard, "I killed her, I killed her." Can't get it out of her mind now. It's stuck. Wow, you haven't yawned once? That's amazing. What? Psst, I killed her. Right? Is that what you're listening? Oh, wait, did you hear the way Grace said that? He sounded exactly the same. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Yeah. Crazy. Yeah, I got Karen became a patron. Anything else? Hold on, I gotta mark this as not read. Oh, God. Yeah, so how's everybody doing? Yeah, definitely gonna get some rest here. Gotta go back to the dashboard here. Hey, no problem. Thank you. So which one of those was the most interesting one? I thought that one was. After we got more information. Yeah. All right, cool. All right, everybody. That is going to be it. I'm going to... Maybe I'll do a flyby. What was the thing I was going to play? Let me... Hold on a second. What do I have in here? What was the... What were the new guidelines for the Academy Award? Hold on. Oh yeah, here we go. Let me hold on a second. Oh, I don't know if I can read it. God darn it. Let me see if it's somewhere else. Okay, listen to this. Listen to this right here. Academy Awards in 2024. His most dramatic swing towards true diversity. Here, let me switch over to that. It's just insanity, everybody. I don't mean to. It just really is. True diversity. Oscar is laying down significant requirements in order to be eligible for Hollywood's most sought-after prize. So instead of it being judging somebody by the content of their character or ability, it's judging on everything except that. Having at least, here's what the movie has to have to be able to win an Academy Award, everybody. Having at least one Asian, Hispanic, one of these. It has to have at least one Asian, Hispanic, Latino, Black, African American, Indigenous, American, Alaskan Native, Eastern, it has to have one of these people in there. Pacific Islander, underrepresented race or ethnicity as a lead or significant supporting actor is a potential requirement under the new guidelines, with those ethnicities also mentioned for prominent production and marketing jobs. Additionally, employing women, LGBTQ plus member, see the plus there? That's where eventually the P will be added. Members of a racial or ethnic group and people with cognitive or physical disabilities who are deaf or hard of hearing might be required for at least 30% of the actors in secondary and more minor roles. Isn't that a little bit bigoted right there? I mean, why are you relegating the people who can't hear very well or are hearing impaired to the minor roles? I think you need to work on that a little bit. Having a storyline centered on an underrepresented group, hiring creative, leadership, and department heads, maintaining at least 30% crew comp. Who's going to watch the Academy Awards now? God. Yeah, so I guess I was listening early. So I guess a movie like Saving Private Ryan would just be tossed on the junk pile of history as a shitty movie winning no awards whatsoever. Well, what we can do now is dub in characters after the fact. Who cares? Let me ask you something. How about this? How about we just don't give a shit what actors or Hollywood has to say about anything? Does anybody really care what Tom Hanks believes about politics? I don't at all. I think he's great in the movies, though. Man, he's awesome. But I don't give a shit what he has to say. And especially someone like... who the hell's the guy? Matt Damon. Oh, my God. I like watching his movies, but I don't really want to hear him talk. Okay? And now, who in the hell is going to watch the Academy Awards now? It's going to be this stupid show. Every movie is going to be this little cookie cutter thing where they work all these different elements in. Who cares about how the script was written or what the story really was? God. How are you going to make a story on Vikings, for example? Let's say you wanted to do a movies on the Viking culture. Well, how do you put one of those other races in there? Just sort of make it up somehow? I don't know. I think that kind of stuff really bothers me a lot. Yeah, Hollywood needs to shut the hell up. Yeah. But here's the reverse, though. If they did a movie specifically on Native Americans, they sure as hell wouldn't put any other culture in there. You know what I mean? Because it's like, at that point, then it's all good. It's just such a weird... I'm getting so sick of this whole thing. I hope you guys are too. It just drives me nuts. Oh, there you go, Dadio. Maybe that would work. Okay, that was the last thing I wanted to bring up right there. Oh yeah, and there's one also thing today is Biden said that the COVID virus has killed 6,000 and like 7 military personnel, and the truth is it's killed 7. Okay, he had to come out later, of course, in a quietly published thing. Well, he misread the cue card. Yeah, well, that's a big difference. 6,000 as opposed to 7. Yeah. All right, you guys are talking about the volleyball on the island for Tom Hanks. Is that what you're doing? Because this name was Wilson. I remember that. That was a good movie. Castaway. I like that one. I didn't like how it ended, though. I felt bad. Well, I kind of liked it because the girl that drove by was way hotter than Helen Hunt. The one with the pickup truck. Yeah. Oh my God. Do you guys have you guys heard? I mean, have seen? He even has. You know when he's doing the what is it? The Skype calls or whatever, the Zoom with people. He literally has cue cards just for regular conversations with people. They even showed a clip where he went, hold on a second, let me read that. Let me slow down. He has a scrolling monitor for answers for when you're just on a Zoom call with somebody. I mean, he's doing pretty good at reading the and today he gave a speech, and you know what he did? He walked away without answering one question. Wow. That's unbelievable. And that's okay, you know, it's okay. How much you want to bet he comes down with a case of COVID just prior to when the debates happen, and he's got to recover. Oh, well, did we not do the elections anyways? Oh, and then he miraculously recovers right after the election. And everyone will say, God, Trump, you're so mean. I mean, I would say this. Have him do a debate from the hospital bed, okay? At least then you get an excuse as to why you sound that way. But, well, I was on drugs. I'm just goofing around. Yeah, but can you see that? They're going to try to figure out a way how to get him out of those debates. The only way I would do a debate, though, with him is not allow, I don't know how to do it, random questions that are read by moderator or something from society, because we all saw what happened with in the last election when the one person, I think it was from CNN, was feeding Hillary Clinton the questions they were going to ask. Do you guys remember that? She had the questions prior to the debate. You know, if you do that with Biden, he can pull it off coming out with these answers. Okay, but if you don't give him that, man, no, it wasn't Jake Tapp, it was Donna Brazil, I think. Donna Brazil gave the questions to Hillary Clinton at the last election. Yeah, I just said that. Yeah, so I wouldn't allow that, because you know that's how it would work. You know, they're gonna somebody will have to feed Biden the questions and then practice over and over again on a response, and then he'll be able to sound reasonable. But if he doesn't have that, you've seen what he does. You know the things. These truths hold self-evident. You know the things. No, he's lost it, Jenny Penny. I know that people like Joe Biden, but he literally is got early, you know, he's in the early stages of dementia. There's no doubt about it. Go watch him talk 5 years ago, and then watch him talk now. It's absolutely, yeah. Come on, man. Every time he messes up. Come on, man. You know, Trump has his thing too. And you see what I'm talking about then, right, Penny? It's pretty obvious, right? I mean, there's a big decline in his cognitive ability from what he used to be. There's no doubt about it. I know that that's not what, you know, some people want to hear. But you know the thing. Now, Trump, what he does when he messes up on the teleprompter, what he'll do is, let's say the word is something like peanut butter. I'm just making this up. Let's say he was talking about, well, let's just say military. Now listen, the might have, let's say he was starting to say it wrong, like might have, he wasn't reading it right. He'd say, now this is exactly what he does. So everything I'm about to say is what he does. He'll say, now I was talking about the might have, now really, I mean, the military does a fantastic job. He does it every single time. He makes it seem like it was, it's pretty good. But at least he has the ability to do that. He doesn't say, the thing. I've seen it like 1,000 times. I actually know he's going to do that too. It's not like it's... Everybody has their little way of getting out of it. But at least they have a way out. He doesn't have... Biden doesn't have a way out. He's somewhere else. Go watch some of the debates that he had. I don't know how he got through that. And what's weird is Kamala... I'll say her name correctly. Okay, I don't want to be... Kamala... She did horrible. I mean, like, she kicked his ass, right? But everyone hated her. And now everyone loves her so much. This hardcore prosecutor who's now just the absolute opposite. Yeah, Kamala. I'm just going to call her Kamala. Kamala. At least I'm saying comma to correct. Not Cam. That's all I care about. Kamala or Kamala. Whatever one. But if you say Kamala, oh! She is me too. Yeah. Yeah, Joe's great. You want to know something crazy? If you went back and took all the comments that Joe Biden has made, he sounds like the biggest racist there ever was. But when he says it, oh, it's just cute Uncle Joe. He's so funny. Oh, how come? Well, because he's on our side. He's on our side, so we don't refer to him like that. But if Trump had said, you can't work at a 7-Eleven without having a slight Indian accent, that's what Joe said, they would have turned that into the most racist comment in the history of mankind. Well, you can disagree all you want, but you're wrong. I'm just telling you the comments that he makes. Then he goes in there and he talks about, if you don't vote for me, you're not black. What a joke. I mean, there's literally about 50 of those things. Go check them out. They're amazing. Yeah, that's not the only one, though. There's literally like dozens of those comments. They're unbelievable. That if Trump said those same things, would have been turned into the worst comment ever made. And everybody knows that's true. Right. So that's true then. Well, I'm sure there's been more racist presidents, like back in the day, right? Well, he's awful. He's god-awful. I mean, he's absolutely a horrendous choice. Biden, okay? And really, when you're voting, you're actually voting for Kamala, all right? That's who you're actually voting for when you vote. There's no, there's no doubt about it. I think he'll last maybe a year and a half. They'll probably prop him up a little. I don't know how he's going to do during, like, let's say if they win and he's doing the State of the Union. Wow. I mean, that has to go on for like an hour. Thank God there's no questions, though. He's pretty good at reading the teleprompter. Oh, yeah, you remember that? That's exactly right, Miss Red Badger. He mentioned his color, you know, like in that same sentence. Here's the thing: is liberals practice what's known as the soft bigotry of low expectations, but they don't realize that they're doing it. They always have such low expectations. For example, the voting, having an ID, a driver's license. They think that that having a driver's license is so difficult to get for minorities that it makes it hard for them to vote. How is that true? I mean, why is it hard to have a driver's license? Yeah. And actually, President Bush came up with that phrase, which is true. The soft bigotry of low expectations. Have a little bit more faith. Hey, thanks, Dadio Caspi Norse's Rock. What is that? What is that character there? Yeah, I'm just saying. When I'm saying, I'm not saying all this or all that. It's just there are elements, and that's how it shows up on TV. Yes, we've solved them all. Yes, they're fixed. The elections between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. It's also, how about those bears? How about them bears? Okay, that's the line. Hey, don't you think that was a good movie? The what the hell was it? Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Wasn't that awesome? No, it's how about, no, you remember the movie Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. You guys are thinking of something else. Remember that when they were in bed together and he jumps up, oh, how about them bears? Yeah, you know, that's one of the best movies out there. But apparently could never win an Academy Award of any kind, even for comedy, because it didn't check all the boxes. That's so unfortunate. Gone with the Wind is, well, Gone with the Wind. Yeah. I think that movie was even more than that. I think it was like 1980. God, when the hell was that thing? I think that's, I'm gonna guess 1982. Let's see. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Ah, 1987. So 33 years ago. Long time ago. I love that one. You're going the wrong way. You're going the wrong way. How does he know we're going the wrong way? Oh, right. What an idiot. Yeah, because you're going the wrong way down the road, you idiot. You're not... See, that reminds me of the line from Beverly Hills, or Reno 911, the cops, where they went to the drive-thru, and a lady in the drive-thru said, there's 2 armed men in here. And they looked at the note and said, well, of course they have 2 arms. Who doesn't have 2 arms? And he just drove off. Yee-hoo! That was a good one. Yeah, I recommend you guys go watch Reno 911. Just the reruns of that shit. That was awesome. Now that one could win Academy Awards. They covered all the bases there. Of course, it's not a movie, so... Or Academy Awards, can't you win? That is for... Isn't that for television? I thought Oscars were... No, that's what you win at the Academy Award. So I guess you couldn't because it's not a movie. Yeah, I just said that, Jenny Penny. Thanks. Yeah, boy. Yeah, God. Yeah, Jesus. Got a lot of know-it-alls in here. Yeah, the Uncle Buck. Yeah, he was hilarious, that guy. All right, well, I'm gonna get the hell out of here. I'm gonna do. I was gonna try to do is a flyby around in this city here because it was kind of cool. Where was that? Was it? Oh, there it is, right there. Turn off all the borders and everything. Awesome. All right, well, before I do the flyby, thank you to Michelle Nicholas, Julie W, Juju Positive, Crystal aka Beaver Gaming Sub Crystal, Hillary McCarthy, Allie Cake, Sarita, Miss Skis, It's a Twin Thing, Linda's House of Chill, and then Linda House of Chill upgraded her membership. Crystal Ann with a cat eye donation. Kit Kat, Allie Cake, Nan Sullivan, Mag, Kika Keys, Michelle Nicholas, Kika Keys again, Angie Pangie, Kika Keys, Cuckoo Bananas became a member, Lee Dobby, Layla My Layla, and Dadio Caspian Horses Rock. Thank you. It's like a drone. Good night, Mag. A mukbang? What's a mukbang? Never heard of it.
It's not my town! It's not my town! This is in Boston. Ish. Yeah, those meat pies were really good. I know they weren't mukbang. Love you guys too! Well, at least Gray thinks that. It's nebulae
Wow, that's the craziest sounding nebulae I've ever heard.
Well, yeah, but there's so many nebulae out there, I'm sure it exists somewhere.
Oh, okay, cool. All right.
Anyways, hey, you guys. Thank you all for showing up tonight. Make sure that you're, apparently they say now, you don't even have to wash your hands. It's only spread by the air. Oh, and by the way, that was one of the things, too, is the news that came out today with Trump, with Bob Woodward. Why you'd ever interview with that guy, who knows? But he was downplaying the virus. And we all knew that. I mean, I said that on the show, that he's trying to make us feel like there's hope. And that made it so everybody didn't run out and make even bigger runs on the market. Could you imagine? What would have happened if he said, oh my God, everybody, this is absolutely horrible. This is the worst thing we've ever seen. People would run out and those stores would never have regained anything. Okay, but I always thought that that's what he was doing. That's weird that other people didn't realize that. Yeah, they downplayed it. And so was Fauci, and Fauci said, hey, he didn't do anything wrong. All right, everybody, that's it for that. And, all right, thank you all for showing up tonight. And as I always say, everybody, until next time, be safe out there. 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a... Yeah, I've been doing this true crime thing for quite a while now.
Oh, yeah.
And during this whole time, I have not seen
that's
one
good
person
stuff.
that is a crime dissector, plug rejector. I'm a certified human lie detector. Gonna get ya on a stretcher
If you try and kill me like that old projector. Crime sector.
Hey, why are you doing mine? I'm supposed to do that.
Professor Grayl's gonna give another lecture.
Oh, I can do it too.
Freak connector. And I'm always gonna be a pup protector. Fool deflector. Interceptor.
They don't mean a respecter with a vector.
On his specter. With all respect, y'all. Just remember I'm a typical ginger.
Oh, you forgot the
no
part?
agenda.
I'm a pretender.
And you guarantee to say without the blender.
And in the end,
I'm gonna send ya
on a mission to the field.
Hey, it was kind of like a little teamwork there.
Yeah, so I'll just get right back to work. All right, everybody? Talk to you.
All right, hey, that was fun, everybody. Thank you for showing up tonight. That was the greatest show that's ever happened. It's the greatest show in the world.
Oh my God, you're doing it again. It really wasn't the greatest show of all time, but it seemed like people enjoyed the topics.
Well, that's what I was really saying. Can I just be overly exuberant?
Wow, you know a word like exuberant?
I sure do. You're so beat ya, boy. Good night.
Good night, Mary Lou. Wow.
Oh boy, those two, I tell you what, they are absolutely crazy. Absolutely nuts. Yep, there's no sound anymore. You're right. All right, everybody. Be safe out there. No, seriously, be safe out there.
Wait, you're still here? Why are you still here? That's the craziest thing I've ever seen. Wow, did you see that, John Boy? He's still there.
Wow, he really is. That's amazing. How is he doing that?
Be safe out there.